All right, good morning. We're about to start. One more, go ahead. Yeah. All right. Good morning, everybody. It is 1 o'clock on the dot. Welcome to today's October 21st finance meeting, and I'll start with the introductions to my left.
Brittany Norris for the administration.
Colleen Hampsey, Council Research.
Mary Stefopoulos, Office of General Counsel.
Philip Peterson, Council Auditor's Office.
Brian Parks, Council Auditor's Office.
Good afternoon, Rory Diamond, District 13, The Beaches.
Ron Salem, Group 2 at large.
Nick Howland, at large, Group 3.
Good afternoon. Raul Arias, District 11.
Joe Carlucci, District 5.
Will Lane in District 3.
All right. Thank you all for joining us today. We do have 3 presentations, so I'll start with those first. And we have Dustin Freeman first. No, sir.
Dustin Freeman, Procurement. Good day, Mr. Chair, committee members. The report in front of you is the last quarterly single source report for FY25. The report is for everything over $50,000. It includes the agency's justification for each and the backup in the report. This quarter, there's a total of 18 single source purchase orders, totaling a little over $2.2 million, and 5 purchase order agreements totaling a little over $1.8 million. Of these single sources, there's one which I would consider unique. That's item 17, a KHA for $100,000. Or excuse me. That is item 4 on the agreements, employee services. That would be considered unique. I also, in front of you, this is new for this quarter. We've been doing this for about 2.5 years now, and we've generated enough data to actually see where the spend is, where it's going. So there's another dashboard in front of you, compliments to Technology Solution for putting this together, but it encompasses everything that I've reported thus far and gives you a high-level visual of where the spend in the city is going for single sources. Pending any questions, that concludes this report for Q4 2025.
Okay. I do have one speaker in the queue. Mr. Lehnen, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair. And through the Chair to Mr. Freeman, I'm looking at your single source purchase order dashboard here. And just so I understand, on 2024, it shows $28.2 million, and then next year, 2025, $18.8 million. That's the total quantity of single source contracts, correct?
Through the chair to Councilmember Lane, and that's correct. That's single source purchase orders, which are, some of them are leases off of master agreements as well.
Okay, through the chair, thank you, Mr. Freeman. To the committee, I mean, that's kind of what we were looking at. We went down $10 million year over year in the amount of single source contracts. So I think our attention to that has certainly been a good reason for why we see this success. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't have any other speakers in the queue. Thank you so much, Mr. Freeman.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. All right. Going now to Maribel Figueroa for a presentation on the continuation of our conversation last time.
Good afternoon, Maribel Figueroa, Chief of Grants and Contract Compliance. From what I understand, you had some questions and wanted me to address a system glitch that created some issues for some of the applications for public service grants. Before I let you know what caused the glitch and what we have done to mitigate that, for next year, I did want to let you know the big handout that you have in front of you are the full final rankings. There were adjustments already. One of the agencies is receiving funding from KHA for the same program, so they rejected the award. So I put on the sidelines where we started making adjustments. So I wanted you to have that for your information. And to also mention that the entire Public Service Grants Appeals Board is here, made up of the grants administrator who chairs the, Janine, if you would please stand, who chairs the PSG Appeals Board, Dr. Joy Hervey, who is the PSG Council Chair, is a member, and so is Chief Freeman, Procurement Chief, are here to answer any questions you have related to their review of appeals. The glitch that occurred in the applications for public service grants, we're using a new system. It's a Salesforce platform, and there are 5 primary questions that make up the application, other than the basic demographic type information. Those boxes, those text forms, were set up what they call display text. The problem that created this is that certain characters that are used are also syntax programming codes, such as parentheses and greater signs and semicolons, so on and so forth, indentation. So there's certain codes that are syntax programming code that particular field interpreted as a programming code, and it confused the system. So there were applications where it cut off part of their responses to that. It primarily occurred, other than one instance that I'm aware of, it primarily occurred in question 2, where it talks about board demographics and such, where they tend to use asterisks and parentheses and such. We did have some agencies, 2 agencies, that notified us of this when it occurred immediately upon the application deadline, and they sent us the full form that they intended. That was forwarded on to the scorers so that they can consider that. And the reason that, particularly Mr. Keene's application for First Coast Crime Stoppers, that was one of those that he did notify us, and it was sent to the scorers. And for whatever reason, there were some scorers that did not look at that, even though it was provided to them. So their comments alerted that they clearly scored this without seeing all of the information. So we did have some appeals. We actually had 8 applications that were appealed, which were 6 agencies. And of those, 5 were approved and 3 were denied. One of the denials was a no-show, just was not there. The other 2, I don't believe, one was related to the text, but it was clear that they did not have the text that they needed to send for that. So that was not reviewed, and I can't remember what the third one was on that particular one. Nonetheless, it was a glitch that occurred in the system. We immediately contacted Accenture, who put the system in place and customized it for us. What has been done to mitigate that? First and foremost, the issue has been corrected because the boxes have been changed to long text area, which do not recognize the syntax programming code. We did test it, so we expect that this will not be an issue next year. However, when you're dealing with technology, these things could happen again. So to make sure that we do everything that we can to cover our bases, we are going to be including this specifically in the mandatory application workshops that they have to attend. We will be adding this to a user guide that they have, showing them how to navigate the system. And we will be adding a pop-up. When they submit their applications, a message will pop up to, for the third time, encourage them, please review your application submitted and ensure that all of your information is on there, and notify us immediately if anything is missing. So we're trying to cover both of those bases, and we're confident that this will not be an issue we will have next year.
All right, thank you. I know I have some questions, and I have 2 members on the queue. I'm going to start first with Councilmember Salem. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Chair. Through the chair, Mayor Bell, there are 81 grants here, if my addition is correct. How many employees do you have that monitor these grants, roughly?
Through the chair to Councilman Salem, 5 grant monitors.
You have 5
They
grant
monitor these in addition to all of your direct appropriations and the mayoral direct appropriations.
And when you say monitor, do they look at a quarterly report? Do they visit the site? Can you give me a little bit more information on what monitoring means to you?
Yes, sir. Through the chair to Councilman Salem, when we monitor the grants, it's soup to nuts. It's a very extensive list. It does start out with, obviously, contract execution, right, which is a process in and of itself that we are in the middle of now. Once they get the contracts approved, these agencies, we have 60 out of the 81 that were awarded. These agencies will receive a visit, an introductory site visit, within 60 days after contract execution, and that's where we'll obviously look at their program, sit down with them, review the budget, answer any questions they have, and do our best to begin the relationship so that it is a smooth process for them. We do mid-year site visits, mid-year desk audits. Monthly, we receive invoices on the 15th of each month with a long list of receipts that we have to make sure are allowable, are appropriate, that they truly are receipts. It's usually where we run into a little bit of problems with them going back and forth. They also are required to do quarterly programmatic reports, which we receive each quarter, review that, and obviously address any concerns that may provide on those reports. And after the contract has ended, we go through a closeout period at the end. And then after the contract has ended, they have either an annual report if they receive $100,000 or less from the city combined, or over that it would be an audit, which would be dependent on their revenue.
Very quickly, Chair, if I can, is the money paid up front, or is it paid on some type of allotment basis?
Through the chair, Councilman Salem, all public service grants are paid on a reimbursement basis. No funds are paid up front. That is a recipe for disaster.
Okay, so it's on a reimbursement basis,
Yes,
so there's rarely ever a clawback or anything because they're not getting the money unless they prove to you they're using it the right way.
The only time that I have seen that is if something was paid out to them incorrectly, and there are times where something is paid out incorrectly, and perhaps the council auditor's office may catch it when they do their auditing as well. And they work with us, and if we feel like, yes, this was paid incorrectly or should not have been paid, then we do, but that's very, very rare.
Chair, I think this discussion is helpful as we look at our CBA stuff as well.
Absolutely.
Is the purpose of asking some of these questions. Thank you, Maribel.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. All right, Mr. Lenin, recognized.
Thank you. Through the chair to Maribel. Just so I understand the impact of this glitch and using First Coast Crime Stoppers as an example, it shows here that their score is 85.8. Is that score reflective of whatever adjustments were made if there were any impact on their score through this syntax glitch that you just briefed us on? In other words, are you confident that the 85.8 is the true score, whether or not there was this upfront glitch on the application?
Through the chair to Councilman Lenin, what you have before you are the rescored items. First Coast Crime Stoppers came in last in the category that they were in. By rescoring question 2, it brought them up only one spot above, nowhere near close to be able to receive funding. I did receive numerous emails from Mr. Keene insisting very strongly that all questions be rescored because he felt that question 2 may impact the other questions. It could potentially have impacted question 6, which was an overall score. However, his appeal was only based on question 2. His appeal was approved based on question 2. The appeals board decision is final, and I am not able to change that after the fact.
So through the chair to Ms. Maribel, it went from last to second to last, and I'll note that there were 33 applications in this section. 18 received something. You ran out of the $2.1 million by the time you did the 18. 15 did not get a grant, so this would not have moved them from last place up 15 spots to get a grant, is what you're saying, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Through Chair, thank you. That's all I need to know. Just want to make sure that we did rescore and that the PSG Council stands by these scores that we're seeing. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Holland, you're recognized.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Harris. I just am going to want to ask the auditors or Mary, whoever can answer it. What did we do last year to adjust the PSG program? Did we say no entity can win more than one award in each category? Was that the change?
Through the chair to Councilmember Howland. Yeah, so Philip and I were just conferring. So it was you limited it to one per category and a maximum of $125,000.
Okay, and I see there are a handful of entities which have won in each category here, including Sulzbacher and Jala. Is there any restriction between ability to collect a direct grant and also a PSG grant?
Through the chair to Councilmember Helen, yes, that there is. And traditionally, what you find is that they're collecting from multiple sources like that. If they get a direct appropriation, we end up having to waive a provision in the code to allow them to receive funding from multiple sources from the city.
Okay.
For the same program. So Sulzbacher is a larger organization. A lot of times they apply for different programs, so you may not see a waiver every time for Sulzbacher if it's for a program that hasn't received city funding from another process.
Understood. Okay. Thanks for that clarification.
Mr. Chair, may
Yes, ma'am.
I clarify
You may, yes,
something that
go ahead.
Mr. Fopoulos mentioned? I just want to clarify that the ordinance 118 Part 8 does have specifically certain entities in the city that they cannot receive PSG funding for if they receive like KHA, social services. However, it is my understanding after conferring with legal counsel multiple times that your direct appropriations are not, or direct appropriations period, are not on that list currently. So they could receive PSG grants and receive a direct appropriation is my understanding. Mr. Fopoulos, if that is incorrect, I would appreciate a clarification.
When we, through the chair, would you like me to answer that?
Yes, go ahead.
So through the chair, when we have a direct appropriation, either through the budget or from another piece of legislation, I always coordinate with the auditor's office, but we do waive so that they can, if they have applied for PSG funding and they're receiving a direct appropriation, we waive the provisions of the code to allow them to receive both funding sources. So it still is a waiver process when we have a direct appropriation.
All right, thank you. Mr. Howland?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. That just brought up another follow-on question. Is there anywhere where we have a schedule of the total amount of taxpayer dollars that an entity has potentially received in any fiscal year, whether it went through a direct contract, PSG, social services, KHA, what have you?
Accounting.
Through the chair to Councilmember Howland, I'm not aware of a ongoing, easily click a button, spit out the number, but I believe that would be summarized in the document that the administration recently provided to City Council of all nonprofit spend for, I believe it was the 24-25 year. So I think that location you could get to your answer, but on an individual basis, we'd have to go look up payments to vendors and figure out what program it's for, and it'd be a lot of work.
Yeah, I can imagine too. There might be organizations with multiple legal entities that have received funds. You know, maybe Sulzbacher has one or two other entities, so it'd be hard to kind of combine. Okay, thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Ms. Figueroa, so I do have a few questions, one of which I'm looking at this summary here, and let's just look at category number 1. You have two new, I guess, organizations added, one for $125,000 and one for $113,000, correct? They were added based off of the process that you just underwent with the appeals process, correct?
No, Mr. Chair, what that represents, if you look above where it says declined, Youth Crisis Center declined their award because they are receiving funding for the same program from KHA. As a result of them rejecting that award, number 20, Volunteers in Medicine, which was previously partially funded, now will be fully funded. And 21, LJD, Jewish Family and Community Services, which previously had zero funding allocated, now will receive partial funding, almost 113,000 versus 125. So those are reflecting the changes since the first report that the grant administrator sent you.
Okay, so Youth Crisis Center, they declined it, or you declined it, one of the two.
They declined two awards in two categories, one in each.
Correct, in the last category as well,
correct.
they declined it.
Yes,
all right.
sir.
What, with the appeal process, you mentioned that there were 5 approved. Are they reflected here? I think you already answered that question, but did they change the math for you when they were approved, or was it part of the process for you to give us this final formula?
That is incorporated here already because this is the final rankings.
Mm-hmm.
The appeals process happens before the final rankings. Those that got rescored did adjust, did get adjusted. They're already adjusted here in terms of who's getting the award. And then it goes to the PSG Council, who approved the final rankings on Friday, October 10th.
Perfect. All right, good. $7 million for the PSG, 3 categories. Basic math tells me each category should get $2.33 million. Why is that the case here with the categories?
The MVP, Most Vulnerable Persons in Needs categories that you approved back in April or May had a recommendation for how that would be divided, and 2 of the categories were 35%. I believe prevention and diversion was 30% of the funding. So two of the categories, acute and self-sufficiency and sustainability at 35%. Those are 2.45 million. And then prevention and diversion, which was 30%, is at 2.1 million.
Okay. What is your threshold for anybody to potentially receive funding? What is your grading score? Is it a 70?
The grading score is 100, is the top score they can
Potentially, for somebody to be disqualified and for somebody to get the funding, what is your minimum grade allowable?
Mr. Chair, based on Chapter 118, Part 8, that the City Council put in place, that ordinance does not have a threshold. It's basically ranked from top to bottom based on the scores. There's a tiebreaker process the PSG Council has in their bylaws, and the award is from top to bottom until the money runs out.
Okay. I find it difficult that, and I know there are different categories, but hard to believe that, you have two organizations in category number 1, both ranked lower than First Coast Crime Stoppers, 85.8, and you have Volunteers in Medicine and Jewish Family Community Services, 85 and 79, yet they're getting funded. Obviously different categories, but there has to be some sort of threshold, and if they don't meet that criteria, that money should then transfer over to the next category. What's happening here is that you're having, and I know last year we had this thorough conversation on the PSG, which is why we decided to bring it down from 150 to 125, and from having people not apply in the same category. So thank you for that. We're looking good, but I think there needs to be more work, and I said this last time. Organizations that have repeatedly received dollars, they need to somehow eventually just come off the system and be sustainable, because we need to open up the doors for other organizations. There's so many more other organizations doing the great work, and they never get the opportunity because of our process, right? You have 85.8 for First Coast Crime Stoppers, yet 79 gets funded. That doesn't make sense, right? And so if the reason is because 35% of your money needs to go to these two categories and 30 to this category, then we need to change that. Because I don't want to see other entities not receive funding when they're grading higher than other entities. It's not fair. Secondly, I've said this before, life is about compromise, it's being fair, but if an organization has repeatedly received funding for not only 1 or 2 years, but for 5, 10 years, which is the case here, it comes to a point where, enough is enough. Maybe start scaling them back. And I mentioned this last year, have a staggered approach where, phase 1, instead of you being qualified for 100% of eligibility for, let's say, $125,000, next year you will get funded more than likely if you grade high, but maybe you get that drop down to 75% eligibility of the 125. Now you open up the pocket for other organizations to start coming in. We need to start helping out the smaller organizations that are clearly grading higher than other organizations so they can get some funding. Otherwise, we're just continuing to feed the people that keep on, doing the work. And mind you, they're doing great work, but it comes to a point where we need to start changing that up. So I'm having a hard time figuring out how we could change this. Obviously, we can't change this anymore, right?
That cannot be changed. However, Mr. Chair, after the new year, Councilman Boylan, who is our liaison, will be introducing legislation for changes to 118 Part 8, Phase 2. And you will have the opportunity to make whatever adjustments you feel are appropriate.
Okay.
But for this year, that we are not able to change that. We are not able to change that. You would have to do it through changes to 118 Part 8.
Okay. I'll open up the queue again. So, Mr. Lenin, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, through Chair Mirabel. Thank you for this. I just want to emphasize, again, everything you see here is due to the direction the council gave PSG. So we own Ordinance 118. We changed it last year. Some of the things were mentioned here about minimizing the amount of awardees per category and the dollar amount. But really the times that we interact the most and can set direction for the PSG is in the April-May timeframe when they come before us with the 3 different categories and what percent. That divides up what the total of $7 million was. And then in budget, when we set the total dollar amount, because we can make it $0, we can make it $20 million in the budget, but we control that. And then, of course, if there's an appointee up to be appointed to the Public Service Grant Council. So I just wanted to clarify, everything the Public Service Grant Council does is by direction of Ordinance 118 which if we have the will, we can change that document. We changed it last year. I know there's a phase 2, a follow-on to what we did last year. So just want to make it clear, and I was the public service grant liaison last year, they operate under the rules that we set for them. So if there are changes we want to make, it has to start with us because that's they are following the rules that we put in place. And after sitting through a lot of meetings last year, and a lot of you know grant vetting is a part of my day job, they do a great job. They are very, they look at the numbers, they look at objective facts, and then they do a great job rating this and divvying out the number based on who the top recipient should be.
All right, thank you. Mr. Joe Carlucci.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, I would kind of be open to the conversation just to kind of what you said earlier of like a cooling off period, so to speak. If some organizations have been on here for 10, 15 years, they're doing good work. But in LUZ we call them, the frequent flyers. There's always like the same kind of applicants and whatnot, and you do want to make room for new folks. And a lot of these, I just remember seeing on direct contracts as well in the budget hearing. So it's not like there's no other means to support these organizations. So. But just for whatever it's worth, when that conversation comes up in April, May, I'll definitely be open to maybe seeing if we can scale that back. Thank you.
All right, thank you for that. I see no other speakers in the queue. Actually, Mr. Diamond, you're recognized. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to echo what Councilman Lannon was saying. Like, this is reflective of the law. Let's change the law. Because I don't want to live in a universe where JAWA is up at the top because they're really good at filling out grant applications and First Coast Crime Stoppers down at the bottom. That means that the law is wrong, or however we're doing this is wrong, in my book, because I know what these two organizations do. So to me, this doesn't reflect how I would spend this money, and it's just Rory speaking. But I don't want to wait till April to do that. I think we should make a request of the council president to put nonprofit spending in a special subcommittee, and let's go. I offered last year to look at this. This isn't my only issue. I think we have corruption when it comes to nonprofit spending. I would like that to be an issue, and transparency about where this money is actually going, and who's getting it, who's so connected so they can get any money they want out of this council. And so this is broken, I think, and I also think there's some other things that are broken, and it's $200 million in our budget. We spend like an hour up here, giving Rockman a hard time for $10,000. So $200 million, I think, is worth our time to go and do right. I never volunteer for committees, never. But I'll do this one because it matters. Thanks.
All right, thank you. All right, no other speakers. Ms. Figueroa, thank you so much for your time and follow-up. Okay, and then we do have one final presentation. Mr. Parks, you're recognized.
Yes, we recently issued on October 8th our third and final follow-up on the city wires transfer out audit. All items have now been cleared. The objective of the audit was to determine whether outgoing wire transfers were accurate, properly authorized, and adequately documented. The wire transfers pose a high risk because they're large dollar amounts. We do very few of them, but they might be the $26 million transfer to the state for our Shands payment. So if anything goes wrong, it's it's a lot of money that could go out. All 9 issues that we identified in the original report have now been addressed as of this report, and that's what we are issuing, just to say everything is good at this point in time. So,
thank you. No speakers on the queue. All right. So before we start, I'd like to recognize Ms. Pittman. Thank you for joining us. All right, and I will start today. Let me see. We do have a few public comment cards, so I'm just going to start with these first. 2 minutes on the clock for everybody. And we're going to start first with Cheryl Croft, followed by Natalie Ward.
Good afternoon. I'm Cheryl Croft, 1017 Park Street. I'm the owner of Edge City. I'm here and speaking in favor of 2025-0539. Edge City has been a part of Jacksonville's Five Points area for 49 years. I've had the privilege of being the owner for the last 2. I'm not going to speak today of the issues that we have within 5 Points. I think they've been very well documented through the news, papers. You will also hear many incidents from the other speakers today on the number of issues that we face. I'd like to spend my time talking about what we've been trying to do to find the solution. I joined the 5 Points Association because they were committed to finding a solution to help us provide a safe, beautiful, protected environment for which business could flourish. The Five Points Association consists not only of merchants, but we also include our landlords, our property owners, our property managers, and our neighbors, because to fix this, it's going to be a community effort. The BID basically will allow us the opportunity to really focus on what we need to make 5 Points shine. It needs some loving care, and if we don't provide it, we're going to continue to erode the business that we have in 5 Points, and we're going to lose this historic cultural gem that we have within Jacksonville. There aren't many community shopping places left. I think you could count them probably on one hand within the Jacksonville-Duval County area, between Park and King, 5 Points, San Marco, maybe some over in Springfield. There's not many. Otherwise, we're just going to be a bunch of empty strip malls, which we know have their issues as well.
Thank you, ma'am. Your time is up.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Natalie Worth next, followed by Matthew Clark.
Hello, my name is Natalie Worth, and I am the manager of 5 Points Dental. I'm here today in full support from the owners of 5 Points Dental, and we also own the property there at 1529 Margaret Street. We are in support of the 5 Points bid. I'm here today to speak on the struggles I have personally encountered while working and living in 5 Points the past 10 years. We have a group of individuals who hang out in 5 Points that do not respect our businesses, employees, or patrons. My staff and I have been stalked and harassed by individuals when asked them to not camp out and panhandle in front of our business. We've had coffee and ketchup thrown at us. I've seen individuals drop their pants and defecate in trash cans in front of our business. I've seen people openly do drugs on the sidewalks. I've witnessed knife fights. I've had to clean up human feces on our property multiple times. Mentally ill individuals will walk around 5 Points naked and screaming. These mentally ill people have come inside our business screaming and locked themselves in our bathroom multiple times. They have shattered our windows, tagged graffiti on our buildings, stolen our property, and these are only some of the encounters I've had. I've been told by city officials to call 911 and report these occurrences. I've called the non-emergency number at 911 over 50 times the past couple of years. Multiple times no one answered. Multiple times no one answered 911. When they did answer my call, the average wait time to get a police officer was over 3 hours, if they showed up at all. This is not acceptable. We have lost over 7 small businesses in the past 2 years. Many storefronts still remain empty. Many of the business owners have told me personally they have closed their business because of these issues. This is not the funky, fun 5 Points that we were promised. We have been abandoned by the city. We have multiple retirement homes here in 5 Points, and the elderly residents are afraid to leave their building. The city just spent $8 million on the Artist Walk skate park right down the street from us, the perfect opportunity for people to come and eat dinner, but they don't.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thanks.
All right, Matthew Clark.
Good afternoon. My name is Matt Clark. I'm with the Urban Division at Colliers International, and I appreciate the opportunity to be here. Not just someone doing business in the district, but as someone who calls it home. I live right behind 5 Points. I've invested not only my resources, but my heart into the neighborhood. That's why this initiative means so much to me personally and professionally. Our team represents about 75% of the retail property owners in and around 5 Points, and we also handle much of the retail in the surrounding urban markets and downtown. What happens here directly affects not just our businesses, but our community. We see the challenges firsthand, and we also see the potential. Our goal is simple: to bring vibrancy back to the neighborhood and create a more family-friendly, walkable, and welcoming district. Bars will always be a part of the culture here, and that's great, but we also need balance. We need to add to the merchandising mix boutiques, restaurants, services that support daily life. But to do that, we must fill our vacancies, and that requires a strong, coordinated effort. Here's the reality. Most of the groups looking to expand into the neighborhood are in the food and beverage space. And as many of you know, the cost to build out a new restaurant or cafe is massive. It's a major investment. Investors need to feel confident in the neighborhood's future. Just a couple of quick examples. At 800 Lomax, we have a 15,000 square foot building that represents a $6 million investment into the neighborhood. A new restaurant group recently toured the space and afterward visited a nearby business. What did they hear? A 5-minute rant about the lack of cleanliness and security. Homeless individuals grabbing condiments off outdoor tables. That's the impression they walked away with, and that is costing us opportunities. Another example is Brew with a brick in their window this weekend. I don't know a single property owner we work with that isn't fully supportive of efforts to improve this neighborhood. In fact, just yesterday I was on the phone with Publix. They are too in favor of a more cohesive and consistent approach to maintaining the district. That means better cleaning, better safety, and better coordination among stakeholders. To put it bluntly, this neighborhood just needs more resources to function properly.
All right, thank you, sir. Mr. Carnell Oliver next, followed by Ian Bassett.
Yes, my name is Carter Oliver. What I'm going to speak to is 2025-781. This bill is on second reading, but one of my priorities, how do we create job workforce initiatives, connect them to housing? And one of the things that I want to do is that I feel like this is a good bill. And I feel like I'm in alignment with the chairman on this, but we have to max it out, give everybody equal access underneath the 14th Amendment. It's targets certain economic engine communities within our community, but it doesn't give the old city limits opportunity that they deserve. And when I talk about the old city limits, I'm talking about Black Americans. Just like some of the constituents that are coming from the San Marco and the 5 Points area, you're dealing with an overflow of lack of investment in our own people. This bill is a start, but it also could expand in opportunities where we could address a lot of social issues. But we've got to be disciplined about how we do it. And I believe that every taxpayer should be able to see where the dollars are going. Maybe the conversation of putting the whole entire city budget on blockchain technology may be the most effective role. For me, this is a very good piece of bill, but I just think that if we put more into it, the value of people will come out. So we may need to put a social housing tax for Jacksonville Housing Authority to deal with some of the mental health issues in our community and some of the uplifting opportunities that we need. This is intellectual property, but this is discussion that I want to have later. But right now, I want to begin this discussion of what this bill could look like if we do it the right way. Then yield my time.
Thank you, sir. I will have a presentation on this bill next committee. So I agree with you. This is just a start. We can have more conversations on this. So it's just the start of the conversation. So thank you for that. All right. Up next, I have Ian Bassett, followed by Dory Thompson.
Hello, everybody. My name is Ian Bassett. I am a property owner in the BID map area. I am not a business owner. I came here yesterday for the neighborhood meeting, and I was officially on the fence. It was my position, and I'm updating it to full support of this measure. One of the things that I was asking for was to lower the cap, and that was one of the amendments that passed yesterday, so I do support this measure. And I also feel like, for the city of Jacksonville, this is a first time doing this type of support measure for a neighborhood or a community or a business district. So I think it's kind of a pioneering venture. I feel that we are asking for your permission for us to pay for services for ourselves, to implement them where we feel they're needed. We are not necessarily asking for funds to do it. We're asking for permission to do this. And so by it being organized through the city provides accountability, which I think is important. But more importantly, it gives the power to the community to make the changes that the community feels will benefit them the most. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. All right. Dory Thompson next, followed by Carolyn Bassett.
My name is Dory Thompson, address on file. I'm a business owner, a landlord, realtor, president of the Five Points Association, a Riverside resident, and most importantly, I'm also a parent to a middle schooler. I'm here to voice strong support for the proposed Business Improvement District 2025-0539. Just this past week, 2 businesses in 5 Points were broken into, another had its window shattered, and a vacant property was vandalized again. That property, without anyone keeping an eye on it, has become a repeated target, and the damage is spilling over into nearby businesses. It's a symbol of a larger issue. When there's no consistent investment in the public realm, problems grow, and these aren't isolated events. Business owners are dealing with this on the daily. This bid did not happen or appear overnight, the idea of this bid. After a violent daily assault that happened in November 2023, the 5 Points property owners, JSO, Councilman Peluso, we all came together and said enough and started asking, how can we reclaim our streets? If Bourbon Street can host crowds every night and stay safe, why not 5 Points? Since then, this has been an open conversation in the news, at community events, and especially within the association. And while meeting minutes may not capture every discussion, the topic has consistently addressed since March of 2025 this year. Property owners have had ample time to ask questions and raise concerns. If there was strong opposition, we would have heard it. Even businesses and landlords who don't actively support this will still benefit from it. Safety, cleanliness, increased foot traffic, and statistically speaking, increase in property values. Most importantly, we have our 3 largest property owners, Corner Lot, Slayman, and Publix, all support this. These are major stakeholders who would pay the most, and they are saying yes. The key word is investment, shared investment for shared return. Funds will be managed locally by business owners and landlords. If it doesn't work, we'll adjust it or even end it. But if it does work, we will build a safer, cleaner, stronger in 5 Points.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, Carolyn Bassett up next, and then Casey Roth. Thank you so much. And you are in support of it. Yep. Thank you. All right, Casey Roth.
Good afternoon, council members. My name is Casey Roth, and my address is on file. And I'm here representing Riverside Avondale Preservation and the many small businesses that make 5 Points such a special part of our city. 5 Points did this the right way. Over the last 2.5 years, there have been 14 formal public meetings, presentations, and countless one-on-one discussions regarding 0539, all of which are documented in the exhibits. Every merchant, property owner, stakeholder was invited to the table. When council asked for more proof of community support, we didn't rush it. We deferred. We gathered signed letters, written approvals, and submitted them into public record. That's what good process looks like. We followed up, knocked on doors, sent letters, held meetings, took calls, answered questions, and the few who opposed it made their voices heard, which shows the process worked exactly how it should. And look, y'all, like in Riverside and Avondale, this is a neighborhood where if someone installs the wrong historic window, the entire block knows within days. All right? With 14 public discussions, 6 news articles from outlets like News for Jax, The Daily Record, The Resident, Jax Today, and letters to every single owner and merchant, the idea that someone wouldn't know about the bid at this point just doesn't fit the reality of how engaged this community is. But what they do all know is what's happened to our small businesses. Just last week, Sake House, Brew 5 Points, Midnight Sun all had their windows smashed in separate overnight break-ins. Brew 5 Points on their Instagram said it cost them $3,000 just to repair that window. Without this bid, our business owners will keep paying those costs out of pocket, cleaning, all that stuff, when they should be spending their time, opening their doors and serving their customers. This whole thing is about giving a small district local control to make their streets safer, cleaner, and more welcoming. 5 Points did this the right way. I respectfully urge your support.
All right, thank you, sir. And last up will be Deborah Delore.
Good afternoon. I'm Deborah Delore. My address is on file. I am a resident in a nearby St. John's Quarter close to 5 Points. having formerly lived in Louisville, Kentucky. I moved here about 3 years ago. But I'm here to share you my experience in Louisville as a business owner that went from leasing space to owning space, and went from being a part of the Main Street Association, which was a historic preservation association of merchants, and became its executive director. And that Main Street was also within the Business Improvement District that was formed in the early 90s, about the same time as our business was formed. That bid, became, as my business moved or grew, I also became a property owner on Main Street. And as a property owner, became a board member of the bid and also ultimately its executive director for 4 years. I am a huge proponent of bids because what they do is they allow property owners to decide what improvements are needed to a particular district and decide how to fund it. And then ultimately the accountability at the end of the year is a report of was the job well done. And if it wasn't, it gets modified. But if it was, or maybe there are different issues that come up, they can alter that next year's budget accordingly or alter its focus. So I want you to then hear what my experience was as that business owner. I had my first office on Main Street, and I would watch bass carts go by with questionable contents and questionable people pushing them. When the bid arrived, they handled clean, safe, and they beautified the area so that 10 years later, when we bought property, even 5 years after that, it all improved in property value. So bids are a very good thing. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, and that completes all the public comment cards. I don't have anybody in the queue, so we are now going to start our agenda. I'd also like to recognize Councilmember Peluso for joining us today. Thank you. All right, starting with number 1, 2024-0627 is deferred. Number 2, 2024-0966 is deferred. Number 3, 2025-0361 is deferred. Number 4, 2025-0424 is deferred. That one we're going to have conversations with next time on the 22nd. And Mr. Carlucci, if you don't mind, for our next meeting, I would like to have somebody or yourself present as to the discussion, if possible. All right, thank you. Okay, so safe to say we should be taking action next time? Is that what you're thinking? I'm going to make sure that I want. Okay, all right, next time speak on the mic. Thank you. All right, number 5, 2025-0539.
Move the neighborhoods amendment.
We have a motion and a second on the neighborhoods amendment. The first, we have 2 amendments, so this will be the first one. Yep. Mr. Peterson, go ahead.
Through the chair, neighborhoods amendment number 1 corrects language within section 5 of the charter of the 5 Points District regarding the services that they will provide. It strikes references to administrative duties within section 6 of their charter, as that's not necessary. It includes the legal name of the 5 Points Association, clarifies that the assessment for buildings will be based on the heated square footage identified in the attachment. It also clarifies that the assessment for parking lots will be based on the GIS square footage column. Clarifies that supervisors of the district would be appointed by the council president, confirmed by council. Adds an exemption for properties that are owned by or used as churches, corrects various scriveners, and then attaches that revised parcel listing to include all parcels within the district and to remove duplicate parcels.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second on the amendment. We will open up for discussion. Ms. Pittman on the amendment? Yep. All right, go ahead.
To the chair, I'd just like a little bit more information on how the advisory members are selected, and would it be a diverse, business, small business? Can you tell me a little bit more about how you see that? Thank you.
Yes, sir. I don't think your mic's on.
There we go. Through the chair to Councilwoman Pittman. So it's going to be 5 members of the board and then 4 alternates, and it's going to be a mix of merchants, people that are business owners, as well as property owners. And that was a discussion that was made because you have a lot of property owners that are both property owners and merchants themselves. They own the building and they work in it, and then you got a few folks who are just operators, and you got a few folks who are just business or property owners. And so we want to make sure that we offered it up to everybody. So it's going to be 5 permanent, 4 alternates. That way, if somebody kind of steps off, somebody can slip right in.
And so will they have like term limits or anything like that? Because you don't want the same people to continue when that might be some discord as well.
Through the chair to Councilman Pittman, it's 2-year term limits.
All right. No other speakers. I do have one question on the amendment. We're talking about number 6, clarify supervisors will be appointed by the council president and confirmed by council. So are you saying that all 9, 5 active board members and 4 alternates will be by the city council and then confirmed by the president and then confirmed by the city council?
Through the chair, that's correct.
All right. Is there a reason why we didn't include the mayor in this?
Not really, other than just this was kind of it's kind of district-led right now, and so this isn't like one of the larger boards that's sort of, established by whether it be charter or some kind of large-scale, entirely Duval County entity.
All right. So, Ms. Norris, is that here's the thing. I have a bill on the pipeline right now which talks about committees, and so I want to be fair across the board. So, is this something that you guys will have opposition with if it's all 9 from the council, or would you guys like to have some participation in appointments as well?
Thank you, Chair. We would prefer to have opportunity to appoint members. I think there's going to be more discussion coming out of your bill, so I would hesitate to offer support for anything that is fully, where that power is not balanced, right? Mayor should make recommendations, and you guys approve or disapprove, and so that power is shared, and currently it's very one-sided with this bill. So,
yep. And that's why I bring it up. I agree with you on that part, which is a turn of events here, right? Mr. Peluso, would you be in a position of that, of having some? No, right? I figure not.
Absolutely not. Right. Whatever this body thinks is best.
Yeah, like I said, I'm bringing up for legislation. I want to make sure that we're fair across the board. When I talk about my part, it's literally what I'm trying to do is for the betterment of Jacksonville and not specifically for one board. So this will be the start of that. Mr. Peterson, you're recognized.
Through the chair, just want, since you are contemplating changing that makeup of the who appoints, there's actually only 8 members. It's 5 appointees and 3 alternates. So just want to, in case that impacts your decision on how many each body were to appoint.
Okay, cool. All right, so if I would like to pass up an amendment on this part, Ms. Stefopoulos, how would I proceed? Would I just...
So, Mr. Chair, the Neighborhoods Amendment number 1 was already filed. And so what I would recommend is you can go ahead and approve this amendment. Rather than amending it, then you can offer an alternative amendment for consideration by the council that would provide for an alternative structure. But I would just go ahead. You can vote it up, and then you would be offering basically a competing amendment for council consideration on Tuesday. So what I would recommend is if you're going to recommend that and the committee's going to take that kind of action, all other aspects of Neighborhoods Amendment number 1 I would include in that finance amendment, so that the only difference would be the appointment structure, in which case then that way if it's marked to take up finance and that's approved at council, you don't have to worry that you're leaving out the other aspects of the Neighborhoods Amendment that were included, that were technical as listed by Mr. Peterson. And then this doesn't have anything to do with what's in the Neighborhoods Amendment number 2, so you would still be in a position to approve that one, and then we could take it up as a finance amendment for consideration after that.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Joe Carlucci, recognized.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. Through the chair to Councilmember Peluso, so there's going to be a total of 5 basically voting members. Okay. So through the chair to Councilman Peluso, or to the chair too, are you thinking you want to have 3 with the mayor and 2 with city council, or vice versa? Because for me, I mean, I think it's kind of a district level thing, and I would err on the side of giving the council person or even the council more appointments than the mayor. And look, this isn't a, slap of the hand type of thing. It's just, if I had it in my district, that's how I would prefer it. So just wanted to throw that out there as we begin to go down this road.
Sure.
So real quick though, can I hear from Councilmember Peluso? Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Councilmember Carlucci. I tend to agree. This is definitely not like a slap towards anyone else. This really is. I think it's going to be a pretty hyper-specific area, and so it's not going to come to the level of Jacksport or JEA or one of the other major boards. I think there might be some early turnover. Like, I just don't want there to be a million applications coming through and for there to be, too many conversations with the mayor's office and the president's office. I think it should be, hey, we have the merchants, hey, we have the business owners. They'll probably give us suggested names. We'll give it to the council president and then kind of go through that process. It was not meant, I was trying to make this as less sticky and I don't know. I don't want to have a million conversations with the mayor's office.
I get it. And so my point is, whatever I do, I want to make sure that we have a standard across the board for all boards and commissions. Being that this is district-led, I will probably side on the side of having majority come from the council, so maybe a 3-2 council and then 2 for mayors. And at the end of the day, if you want to send up some recommendations to the mayor's office, more than likely they'll take them up. It's just, I want to be fair across the board when we moving forward. We're doing this with the CBA. I think, we have to start that narrative now, moving forward with all different boards and commissions that we create. So, all right, thank you. Mr. Howland, you're recognized.
Thank you, sir. Board composition to me is not a big issue, but I do want to see if there's some element of consistency and precedent here. On the other taxing districts in the city, are they jointly approved by board and council, or is it just council, or is it just board? How's it work? Is there any consistency?
Through the chair to Council Vice President Howland, we'd have to go back and look. I think this one's a little bit different because in a lot of cases you have maybe there's initial appointments that are undertaken through the city, and then at least in the case of independent special districts, then there's an election that gets held with respect to future positions on the board as they roll over. So this one's a little bit different in the way it's been constructed is 100% by the council president, but we'd have to go through the code to really see what the other dependent special districts, and at least even the initial composition looked like.
Okay.
To be able to give you that information.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you. Ms. Pittman.
To the chair, I had one comment, and then I wanted to ask maybe someone from OGC if this was a specialty district like Bay Meadows. I think a few years ago, it's probably been maybe 3 years or so ago, when something like this similar was done in Bay Meadows, and it was pretty much resident driven. I don't remember your name sitting on the front row from Springfield. I was once a resident in Springfield, and one of the things that I can say when that was resident driven, there were a lot of things that could get done. And now if you go look at Springfield now, it all started back 10, 20 years ago when the residents kind of took charge and it was driven by them. So, I think the council member knows what they need for their district, and I'm just seeing if this is the same special district that was set up like for Bay Meadows, because look at it now, it's amazing.
And it is, but go ahead, Mr. Peluso.
Through the chair, yes, it is. I do want to kind of lean on Mr. Reinkel real quick. Is it the same chapter as the Bay Meadows BCID, or is it a different chapter?
I'd have to look that up really quickly, but my recollection is they're both dependent special districts. Your point about residences is very well taken, Councilmember Pittman. I'm sorry, through the chair to Councilmember Pittman. Most of the districts that have been set up in Jacksonville so far, if not all of them, were mostly resident-driven. A lot of the districts relating to dredging were done by residents, as then the BCID was. This one's just different in the fact that it was driven by businesses and designed to support a business area as opposed to a residential area.
And through the chair, I'm sorry if I may answer as well. So we talked with Jerry Holland about whether it should be elections, which by the way would only affect 75 or 90 individuals or groups. And he even said, yeah, we could do that for maybe about $150,000. And so we thought that was not the best idea because, money is precious when it comes to this dependent special district. And so we're going with this process. But this is the first time we've really created a proper business improvement district in all of Jacksonville. So downtown vision is the closest thing to it, but even then, the different chapters that they use to create their entity is different than what a traditional business improvement district is. So we're kind of in new charted territory here. And so this was something that made sense and made sure that we weren't wasting money on some kind of overly bureaucratic process. And so it's also why I want to make sure we kind of kept it under the council presidency, but with the mayor's office wanting a couple seats and having their conversation in there. I think that's fine. I do want to ask what we do with alternates, though. Like, does the mayor get one alternate and we get two, or kind of how does that work? But hopefully that kind of answered your question.
Yeah, I really like the idea because some of those districts that may not have the economic engine that Springfield and 5 Points have, but it is an opportunity that it could provide to other districts like District 9, District 10, that it could be scaled up for that in the next few years as well. So thank you.
All right, thank you for that. Okay, so Ms. Stefopoulos, if possible, I would like to make a motion to amend Neighborhoods 1 amendment and also Neighborhoods 2 amendment, if possible. She's over there not paying attention to me. That's fine. We'll wait on that conversation right now. All right. Okay.
Mr. Chair, I think what Ms. Stefopoulos is going to say is that you don't want to amend the Neighborhoods Amendment, that you want to redo. Okay, you can. She said. Now she's back.
Let her speak, sir. Let her speak, all right? You're not Ms. Stefopoulos. Yeah. Ms. Stefopoulos. So my motion would be to amend Neighborhood 1, removing number 6, and changing it to board members will be 3 from CP, 2 from the mayors, and then alternate will be 2 from the CP, and then 1 from the mayor. And then it would be to also take up number 2, Neighborhoods Amendment, and wrap it up as 1 finance amendment, if possible.
That is correct. Just as you described, Mr. Chair, if that is the amendment that you are offering, then you would just need to get a second on that amendment to the amendment, and I'm happy to re-explain it, or if your committee members need it, but it sounds like you summarized it perfectly.
Thank you. All right. We have a motion and a second. All right. All in favor of the new finance amendment indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. All right, amendment passes.
So now you need a motion on the amendment as amended.
We have a motion and a second on the amendment as amended. All right. Mr. Peluso, you're not on the queue, but you have your mic. You want to say something? No. Okay, cool. All right, I'll indicate, where are we at? So we just got to vote on a verbal now, right?
Correct. So you'll vote on the amendment as amended verbally, and then what we will do is, if that passes, we will file that all as 1 finance amendment, and then that would travel for consideration to City Council next Tuesday.
All right. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. All right. Motion passes.
You just need a motion on the bill as amended.
We have a motion and a second on the bill as amended. I do have one speaker in the queue, Mr. Lanin, and then Salem. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Through the chair to the bill sponsor, a couple of questions. I was able to watch Pardon Neighborhoods yesterday. My first question, what's the average cost? My understanding was there's about 90 businesses roughly, and I think I heard $150,000 a year. But if I'm a business owner in 5 Points, what is the annual cost of this assessment I'll be paying?
Through the chair to Councilmember Lannon. So that's going to depend on what the board decides in terms of the cents per square foot. So we kind of gave a breakdown, and I've even got a sheet here if you want to see it, that kind of says what would 10 cents be, 15 cents be, 20 cents be, 25 cents for those for each property owner's heated square footage. And heated square footage, again, was also a compromise because before it was gross square footage. And then some folks said, well, I don't think patio should be included, so we did heated square footage. Point is, if you're Corner Lot, if you're the 5 Theater, if you're Publix, it is much different in terms of costs at any of those levels than if you are Edge City or Hawkers or Hawthorne's or Bark on Park, if you're one of the law offices. So if you're kind of in that 4,000 square foot range, it's only going to be like $800 or less per year, and that's going to be assessed starting November of 2026.
Through the chair, thank you, Mr. Peluso. 2 more questions. My second question, I think you just answered it. It's the property owners, not the renters, that will be paying this, correctly? In other words, if I have a small business and I'm renting a space, I'm not paying it. There's the potential to get passed on to me, but it's the property owner of that business that's going to be paying it?
That is correct.
And through the chair, Mr. Peluso, my last question. I know there's some conversation yesterday about how we have people in support of it here, but there's 90 some odd businesses. What is the documentation to know, are we at 51%, 75%, 100%? How do we know that not just 51%, but the vast majority of these businesses support basically taxing themselves more?
So I think there's a couple different ways to answer that, but one of the most important people that I want to make sure was in the audience today was Mr. Clark, because he just said, as he came up here, he represents about 75% of the different property owners that are there. So he can kind of speak on their behalf. So we not only had letters go out for about 40 days where people could send us a notice back saying yes or no, if they're in support of it. Myself, my aide, Brooks Dame, Dory, Riverside Avenue Preservation, we knocked on every business's door to make sure that the businesses knew about it as well as the property owner, right, in the hopes that they would kind of communicate it up. So, go ahead.
So through the chair, Mr. Peluso, the only thing I've dealt with similar to this in my district is traffic calming, right? I think the ordinance says we have to have 75% people agree to pay an assessment to bring in traffic calming. Do you either have a feel or have the documentation that you think you're at 75% or more of consensus in this area to essentially tax themselves more, like I said?
I would say that we do. We're definitely in the 70 range. Not only have we been working on this for about 2 years, and keep in mind, this is the property owners and the businesses that came to me about this. When the merchants and the business owners talked to myself and to JSO, it was always about, hey, how come you guys aren't doing more? And we would say, both myself and for one, Commander Massey and our Chief of Patrol were able to say, listen, we've got a lot of needs in this city. We can't provide you like the 24-hour kind of assistance that you need. You're going to need something else to kind of help get you that place. Property owners got together, businesses got together, spoke with our attorney and talked about different options. Business Improvement District was the one that everyone wanted to go with. So because there is no process in our city ordinance about how, or our charter, about how you get that consensus, Councilmember Salem in our neighborhoods committee several weeks back, kind of encouraged us to use the process that we do for speed limiting. And so we sent out the notices to everyone, and for those who did not send anything back, we consider that consent. So we have massive amount of consent based on that. We also have Mr. Clark here to kind of speak to that because he represents so many of those property owners to show that they do have consent. We've been talking about this for over 2 years. There have been a number of news articles about it. I think the news is here now. This has been in the public conscience for quite some time, and especially after this weekend when we saw a brick go through Brew, when we saw Midnight Sun have a brick go through their property as well. And the owner of Midnight Sun was here yesterday. She was here today at the homelessness meeting. But this is I've yet to hear anyone vehemently disagree, and anyone who does, myself and Brooks will sit down with them, and they've all changed their position once we told them what they're getting and the cost of it.
Okay, through the chair, thank you, Mr. Peluso. One of the speakers said that they're not asking for funds, they're asking for permission. I think that's a good summary of this. I would never vote to increase people's taxes for something like this, but if they want to add an assessment, it sounds like you got 75% or better consensus. And then the only business I personally know reached out and supported this. So that's the one data point I have. So again, for that, this is people asking to pay more for city services that they're going to get and they're going to pay for. So it's not an increased cost to the city. So I'll support you on this one, Councilmember Peluso.
Thank you, Mr. Salem.
Thank you, Chair. This is the third time I've heard it, but I'm going to make a few comments and offer a suggestion. I am not convinced that it's anywhere near 70%. There's a large group of 30 to 40 that did not respond, and I'm not prepared to assume those people are supportive. That's just me. Others can think differently. So I've been a neighborhood guy my whole life, and I like the idea of empowering a neighborhood. Let me give you an example, through the chair to Mr. Peluso. I live in a neighborhood of 180 homeowners. For the first 25 years I lived in the neighborhood, we had voluntary dues. We have a police officer that roams our neighborhood 20 hours a week. We do all the landscaping in front of my neighborhood. We built a wall in front of my neighborhood, and it worked very well. But eventually, we got tired of those 30 or 40 people that were not paying their dues, even though we approached them multiple times, just like you did. And so we determined if we modified the deeds of the homeowners and got 75% of the homeowners to agree to modify their deed to make dues mandatory, we could collect it from everybody, which is what we did. And now, if they don't pay their dues, there's a lien put on their house. And if they try to sell their house, that lien pops up, and no one's going to buy a house with a lien on it. So we started with a voluntary system, which worked extremely well for many, many years, but then we went with the 100%. I'm not, it's not clear to me why you haven't started with a voluntary system such as that and used that system for a period of time where the businesses can see the progress you're making and then come to the council and you probably get a lot more support. I'm in the process of evaluating your chart with the letters and such, but the preliminary work that I've done still has me in the position that I don't think the percentages are where I would feel comfortable taxing somebody. I'm all for empowering. I'm all for voluntary dues and doing what they can because I live it in my home every day.
You may respond, but just keep in mind before you call anybody up, I need to know.
Does she want to answer the
I just want to make sure you all know that you can't come up unless somebody calls you up, right? So unless somebody's going to call you.
I will be glad to. Are you going to respond to voluntary dues?
I was given a waive.
Let's do it the proper way, please. I don't want these people getting up.
Well, then I'll get off the queue because
Mr. Peluso, I'll recognize you if that's the case.
Thank you, Chair.
So I'm a no. I've been a no twice. I'll be a no today. If I can be convinced that there is over 75% of the people there that are supportive of taxing themselves, then I would support it. I'm not there today.
Chair.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. And the reason why, she was just kind of deep in the bench, and I want to make sure she didn't take 20 minutes to come up. My apologies for that. The reason why I called Ms. Thompson up, there are voluntary dues right now. They have a merchants association, and it is a working board. And these are individuals that are small business owners. They have families. They've got a lot of stuff that they're doing already. They've been working within the system they've been working this way for many years. And since I got elected, and even before then, and I think if any of them could tell you, it's been getting tougher and tougher out there. And maybe this neighborhood that you live in doesn't have the same challenges that probably these merchants and business owners do. I mean, we heard about somebody's door being broken in. That was $3,000 that they now have to pay into that. And through the chair, if you don't mind recognizing Ms. Thompson, she might be able to speak a little bit more to that. But there is that process now.
If you don't mind, just state your name and address for the record, please.
Dory Thompson, address on file.
You have a question for her?
Through the chair to Ms. Thompson. I mean, can you tell us how many hours a month that you put in this voluntarily, and kind of what it's like in order to kind of collect dues, make sure people know where they are, and then even entering the contracts. It's a little bit difficult when you don't have a stable funding source all the time.
Thank you, Councilman Peluso. As a volunteer, it's been countless hours. I'm happy that my husband still talks to me at this point because it's all we talk about is 5 points, and it's all that I've been putting my time and energy into. I hear from the business owners all the time. Matthew Clark receives countless text messages from me about things. The association, we are trying to raise our own funds independently, and we want to focus on the fun stuff as an association. We want to do events and bring foot traffic. We don't have the funding for security, safety. We don't have those means. And that's why this bid was, why we said, what can we do? And we don't want to see any more businesses close. That's the saddest part. Did I answer your questions? Okay.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it. All right, Mr. Peluso, anybody else want to call up while you have the mic? No, cool. All right. Thank you, Ms. Thompson. Did you? It looks like they want to still speak. Do you want to call anybody else up, or are you good?
Absolutely. Owner of Edge City is going to come up, if that's okay with you, Chair.
Yeah, 2 minutes on the clock, please.
I'm Cheryl Croft, 1017 Park Street. As the membership chair for the 5 Points Association, I've personally walked the boundaries of this area, trying to identify every business that's available in that area. I've come up with about 118. Unfortunately, I don't have access to some of the buildings that have closed access to be able to tell how many businesses are located within those buildings as well. We have not only made personal visits with flyers, I have also mailed, and I also correspond with them electronically when I have their emails. Trying to get membership up, but it is just that is a difficult battle. With similar experience as what you had, Dr. Salem, in the neighborhood. We have a cadre of people that have put in numerous hours to try and build up 5 Points. I'm very proud of what we've been able to accomplish, but we are going to fall short. The cost for security alone is more than we can raise. Meanwhile, we need what the Merchant Association does to promote our businesses. We just need to make sure that with the BID, we have the foundation to have our businesses.
All right, thank you, ma'am. All right, Mr. Joe Carlucci, you're recognized.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. So this is something that definitely is very close to home for me, just because, you know, I was the president of the Merchant Association in San Marco for 2 years, so I know all about the voluntary dues, and it does work. And it has worked for San Marco for a long time. Not to say, you know, the BID method is certainly more consistent, and it flows way more generously. We do a very small footprint with the San Marco Merchant Association, and their budget is, you know, very, very, I'll say small. I don't want to say the number, but it's tough. It is a tough job for that voluntary board. I lived it, like I said, for 2 years, and it was daunting. But I just want to real quickly say, you know, I don't have any concern about this. I certainly am familiar with, you know, sending out the notices and, you know, silence or no response equals, you know, I guess a consent. That's kind of how we're going on the speed humps now too, because we have a lot of neighborhoods that we're doing for that. But for me, I just want to say, man, Councilmember Peluso, like, you did a good job on this, man. This is very detailed. All y'all, Brooks, yeah, it's Brooks. I'm sorry. Well, I don't know. I don't know why I said that. Brooks, you did a fantastic job on this. I mean, when I came in today, and I don't know where the other packet is. Oh, it's right here. Like, this is super detailed. This is clearly community driven, and just clearly a want and a need for this area. So I'll be supporting it, and I'm just counting down the days for someone in San Marco to come ask me about it. But anyways, I just wanted to share that, Mr. Chair, so thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Holland.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm concerned about any and all taxes imposed on the unwilling. So for me, it's to determine who's willing, who's unwilling. I have a couple questions along those lines, and my first one is for Ms. Stefopoulos. The Florida statute 189.02, what does it mandate for local government to establish a special taxing district? I heard Mr. Peluso mention that they decided not to do the election because it might have cost $150,000. Is it simple enough to provide a survey of who they think are willing and unwilling to be taxed in the special district?
So, and I'll let Mr. Reingold jump in as well, but what 189.02 says is that a dependent special district that's created by a county or municipality shall be created by adoption of an ordinance that includes the purpose, powers, functions, and duties of the district, the geographic boundary limitations of the district, the authority of the district, the explanation as to why the district is the best alternative, the membership, organization, compensation, and administrative duties of the governing body of that district, the applicable financial disclosure, noticing, and reporting requirements, the methods for financing the district, declaration that the creation of the district is consistent with the approval of the local government comprehensive plan. And so those are the items that are specifically required to be in the ordinance by statute. It doesn't have anything else with respect to a certain number of those to be assessed have to approve it, et cetera. That's not part of the statute.
Okay. Let me ask this. On all the other special taxing districts that we have in the city, do we have an idea of what kind of administrative costs burden the city or any independent authority within the city when we have these special taxing districts? Will this incur additional costs to the city to maintain?
Through the chair to Councilmember Howland, I'm sure there's some, given that you have to approve their budget every year. So that's a piece of legislation that has to be drafted by OGC that you otherwise wouldn't have to. So there are probably minimal costs, but outside of that, there's no other additional cost. The tax collector takes a fee on all taxes collected, so they're covered on their end. The annual budget is the only thing that I can think of that would actually be an additional burden.
Okay, thank you. To Mr. Peluso, I'm really trying to, in my mind, come to the same conclusion that Mr. Lana did, where he's comfortable that there's enough willing. So it's all, to me, willing, unwilling. What kind of opinions have you received against? Because I haven't received any. I do see that there's, on your spreadsheet, which again is detailed, I agree with Mr. Carlucci, 11 against. Tell us a little bit about what they're saying.
Thank you. Through the chair to Councilmember Howland. Yeah, those individuals that were against just didn't really understand what it was. They're like, I don't really get what this is. What do you mean I'm going to have to spend more money? What? The thing that we always hear, and I think everyone's going to nod their head, is why doesn't the city just do it? Or why doesn't JSO just do more? And so this is a matter of explaining consolidation, how we got to where we are, the massive needs of the entire city, and how we make sure that a small commercial area is able to get more attention and more enhanced services, which is what this will provide. So I'm not going to lie to you. All the individuals that have opposed, we're just going to go and talk to, because anyone who has opposed, once we tell them, you're going to get security, right? You're going to get probably private security and then JSO during certain hours. You're going to get landscaping. You're going to get cleanliness. We're going to have a cleanup course similar to that of Downtown Vision. Like, the things that people have been clamoring and looking for years are going to be available. And then to the point of what the merchants have said, now it gives them the opportunity to be able to host more events and get more people there. The main purpose of a business improvement district is to improve business. If people aren't seeing their revenues go up, if people aren't seeing more foot traffic, then this clearly has failed. And the one thing that's really exciting about this entity is that the first year, right? If we establish this right now, I intend to use my CBA dollars, about $150,000, to go into the bid for the very first year, so that they don't have to put any money into it. And actually, we can't do it anyway because of state law. We gotta wait until the trim notices go out. So like they'll have money immediately that they could start entering into contracts, start getting the work done, and so people will physically see the work already getting done year one and say, "Wow, I'm already seeing a change." And then, hey, when there is an assessment that's going to come in November of 26, they'll say, I know what I'm getting for it. This is great. And I think Councilmember Arias could probably speak to it a little bit. But like the BCID, how many people were like, whoa, I don't get this. Now people are really seeing the effect of it because it's finally taking action. So I'm able to at least kind of bring that up almost before any assessment occurs.
Thank you. And it is probably a sign that you've had 14 public meetings, and I've not received any arguments against. So well done for having 14 public meetings on this. Two final questions, and again for Ms. Stefopoulos or the auditors. One is a naive one. Can anyone opt out?
Through the chair to Councilmember Howland, so the statute doesn't provide a provision for opt-out. I think Mr. Diamond may have been discussing that with Mr. Reingold briefly as well. I think the only issue with the opt-out is administratively what kind of burden that would create for the tax collector, because they're the ones that place the assessment on the tax bills for those that are in the district. So, to the extent that is something that the council would want to entertain, including in the legislation, I don't see a statutory prohibition for that. But again, that's an administrative burden you would be placing on the tax collector to develop a process to allow for that to occur, I would guess.
Okay, and then my last question, sorry, Mr. Chair. I'm always wary of government spending that goes on in perpetuity, as do fees and taxes and that kind of thing. Is there any provision in 189.02 which makes the issue have to come before City Council again for reapproval after a certain time period?
Through the chair to Councilmember Howland, I'm not aware of one. Dylan can correct me if I'm wrong, as he handles the dependent special district matters for the most part for OGC, but I'm not aware of a provision in the statute with regards to that.
Well, we could stop it at any time with the council vote?
So there are provisions for dissolution, and let me just pull this up. That's more related to independent special districts. Let me see. So the dissolution of a dependent special district can be effectuated by ordinance. And you may recall that to the extent that there was the hog pen district that was created, that was then subsequently dissolved by council action through ordinance. Yeah. So it is a matter of an ordinance that you could pursue.
Okay, then I'll just leave this thought out here for the committee, is maybe some kind of provision where we revisit it 5 years to see if it's working for the businesses in 5 Points, and then take another vote for continuation. Just a thought. Thanks. That's it. Thanks, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you. Mr. Diamond.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So most of my questions are for Ms. Mary. Having lived through the Hog Pen Special District when I was deployed, and then we all had, like, all of my residents here coming over and over again saying they had no idea that this was happening. I don't want to relive that. So how many total properties, through the chair, are we talking about? I mean, you can give me ballparks.
Through the chair to Councilmember Diamond, Mr. Peluso can correct me if I'm wrong. I believe during neighborhoods he stated it was approximately 117 property. No. Okay, that's wrong.
Through Chair to Councilman Diamond, it's exactly 94.
Okay, and exactly how many letters of support do you have?
We have well over 60
so
in support, and then we have Mr. Clark, who just said all of his properties that he represents, which he could probably speak to how many that is.
Okay, well, hold on. Through the chair, so you've got 64 out of 94. How many of those are the same company? Like, how many are Andy Allen's just like saying yes, or Alex Faca saying yes?
There's a couple that definitely own multiple buildings.
Okay,
but it's not like the vast majority or anything like that.
I'm looking at the list. Yeah, I'm not being clever. Okay, I mean, look, I don't like special districts, so I'm voting no. That's just it. But I do respect people working really hard. I've got the Beaches Merchants Association for Atlantic and Neptune Beach. It is wonderful. It is working beautifully. You could not expect a better organization in what it's doing. Maybe San Marco is doing the same thing, I'm sure. So I like the voluntary route. The only way I would support this is if there's an opt-out. The benefit is that you get all the people who want to opt in, plus people who don't respond, but it gives an opportunity for those who feel like this is government coercion for yet another tax. They can opt out. I did speak to somebody who's on this list, a very important person here in Jacksonville, who's like, absolutely not. And I'm not stupid. It's not like I don't understand this. I don't want to pay any more tax. Like, I pay enough tax. So I would like to make the amendment to have an opt-out.
Sure.
We have a motion and a second on that amendment. I do have Ms. Pittman for the first time on this current piece. I'll entertain your amendment. Let's just have her conversation first. Ms. Pittman, go ahead. Not on that amendment, on what's being discussed.
Right. Just wanted to ask a couple of questions to the chair. I think Councilman Holland, you asked some very good questions regarding, the kind of like baseline of what you want to spend this revenue for. Is there a certain, and I'm just thinking, a certain amount that you would like to raise? I know you just mentioned about putting 150 of the CBA money, if possible. I'd like to know in terms of, after a certain amount of years, let's say you get your kitty all, you have $1 million. Just say you have $1 million to do what you want to do for that neighborhood, because I think there's more interest than not in how do you do that and say, after 5 years, it's going to work for this community or not, or what are other options to that?
Through the chair, is that all right? Through the chair to Councilwoman Pittman. So total budget. I mean, there's been a couple of different hopes about what this could do, but like at the end of the day, it's going to be how many hours will there be security, right? There's a bunch of different private security groups, and then obviously there's JSO. JSO has the extra duty solutions, so it scales up and down depending on the event. Like anyone who's done private events, sometimes it's $78 an hour, sometimes it's $120 an hour. So like these are things that are still up to the board to kind of figure out and kind of play with. The $150,000 that I'm offering for the CBA, one of the reasons is because we're going to be, by the time this gets established and the board gets established, it'll be in the midst of a fiscal year. So we're going to see how far 150,000 gets them, and I think that's going to help them determine exactly what they can do X, Y, and Z for. We also intend to probably get some voluntary funds. I believe Publix, Corn-a-Lot, a few others are going to be putting in early because they have the means to do so now, and it will help kind of show the rest of the community and neighborhood that it's a good thing.
And I guess from my next question, have you talked to any of the special committees to see that's already up and running and have been successful? What are some of the challenges? What are some of the successes have been with those organizations putting this together?
Through the chair to Councilwoman Pittman. For one, business improvement districts are very popular in Florida. You see them in all the kind of the major commercial corridors, whether it be, Winter Park, Tampa, Wynwood, like they're all over the state, and they're very well run and very popular. So I spoke with a few folks that work on that, Jesse Ball DuPont Fund, and then of course our good friends Downtown Vision, which are a special district as well, which I think they would say the ambassador program in particular is very successful. Other stuff I'm a little bit critical of, but the thing is that's a 3.9 mile district. This is super hyper small. These are the people that it's impacting on a day-to-day. They know exactly what they need, and I'm excited to see what they can do with it.
Okay, actually for the first time, Mr. Ronstein. Actually, no, Mr. Carlucci, second time, yeah, go ahead, second time.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. And this is a question to OGC, which I think I know the question or know the answer. I just want to kind of get it on the record and air this out. What happens if they can't opt out and then the property owner just decides not to pay, I guess, that line item or that amount less the property tax bill, so to speak? They just say, I'm not going to pay that portion because I don't want to. What happens?
Through the chair to Councilmember Carlucci. So the bill provides, and this is how it's traditionally done, is that it becomes a lien on the property that's co-equal to a lien of the city or the of the county with respect to its effect on the property.
Okay. Thank you so much.
All right. Last speaker is Mr. Salem, and then I'm going to speak. All right, go ahead.
I just wanted to second, if it wasn't, Councilmember Diamond's motion about an opt-out clause. I feel for the amount of work they've put in. I'm concerned about the actual numbers, but if there's an opt-out, I'm 100% with it. That way, the person, if it's 10 or 11 as you're suggesting, or it's 20, you could put together a conservative budget based on maybe 75 versus the 94 or 70, and feel pretty safe if what you're saying is correct. So I second that and would be very supportive if that can be put in. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Populous, you're recognized.
Mr. Chair, once you're ready to speak on the Diamond Amendment, which I know has been moved and seconded, I believe Mr. Reingold wanted to share some additional thoughts and input from the Office of General Counsel pertaining to that amendment when the time comes.
All right. I think, Mr. Peluso, you're still in the queue, but, I mean, you've been speaking this entire time. You need to say anything else, or are you good? On the amendment? Okay, so we're going to move on that. So we have motion and second on the amendment. Mr. Reingold, go ahead.
Thank you very much. So to the through the chair and to the committee, so to the extent that these are special assessments that these property owners would be paying, each property should generally be paying an assessment equivalent to the benefit that they're receiving from this. To the extent properties opt out of the special assessment district, and therefore there are properties that are essentially paying more in order to cover the district, which essentially covers other properties that aren't part of it, those properties wouldn't be forced to pay more, because then they would be paying above and beyond the special benefit that they're receiving from being a part of the district. I know that was kind of confusing. My only concern from a legal standpoint is that then properties still in the district end up paying more than what they were supposed to be paying and above what they're required to pay above the legal amount.
Okay. All right. Let me give you my 2 cents very quick before we open it up. So I do have a BCID in my district. It's actually a community improvement district, so it's a little bit different than the business district, but it's the same essence. You have homeowners putting in money into this, being assessed additional taxes. A lot of people were obviously opposing it, but a lot of people were in support of it, which is why it passed under Danny Beckton. Since then, we've been having to have some legislation issues, so we corrected all that. And finally, last year, when we passed a motion to correct all that, they finally started to receive funds this year. So far, to date, 25-26, they received over $1.6 million. They've been needing to improve their infrastructure, the roadways, their drainage, everything. This project will cost close to $30 million, so this is a step in the right direction. My goal would be for one day for them to have everything up to standards so the city could take over the roads, and that's the ultimate end result. So to Ms. Pittman's point, there has to be an end point in this, right? So Mr. Peluso, I'm pretty sure you've already strategized what this is, and before I ask you that question, I'm going to tell you that I am in support of a BCID, although it is an additional tax on the people that live there, or I guess the businesses. FRLA, that was my biggest concern. Are the restaurants supporting this? Florida Restaurant Lodging Association, they did their work alongside Brooks as well too, obviously, to make sure that I did get my answers from the restaurant community, because I want to make sure that they're not added additional taxes that they can encumber. But it seems like they're in favor of this. I've had multiple conversations already as it is in the last couple of weeks for this, so I'm definitely in support of it. My question to you, Mr. Peluso, will be, how long do you plan on having this? All right. There's 94 total individuals here on this list. Is that the maximum, or is there going to be more? And then I know for the BCID, we created a special map. So to Mr. Diamond's point and Mr. Salem's point, before we even ask about opting out, we could just create the map from the beginning to those people that don't want to be in it. They could just be removed from the beginning. If people do want to opt out, we could always accommodate that by legislation later on down the road. So if somebody decides in 2 years from now they want to opt out, it's up to you to pass the legislation and then I'll support it. But on my BCID, I currently have one individual that actually reached out to me that will potentially want to be opting out as well too. So now I'll have to decide whether I appease that or not. But at the end of the day, I think before we even do the opting out part of it, which I am in favor of, I think we should just start from the beginning. Draw the map, have those individuals get removed from the beginning. That way they don't have to opt out later on. So go ahead.
Through the chair, I think that'd be kind of a little bit wonky map based on some of these folks. And again, I'd still like to talk to them and make sure that they're aware of the benefits of this. I think theoretically, I'm not necessarily against an opt-out, but as I've spoken with Ms. Delore, and if you allow her to kind of come up again, she ran the Louisville Business Improvement District. She'll tell you that the ability to opt out really kind of harms the integrity of the bid, especially to the point of what Mr. Reingold was saying. There's going to be a lot of properties that get the value add of having security and stuff like that. So I think that I'd be, if we said like the board will establish an opt-out procedure based on hardship or something like that, I think I'd be more willing to support that. The other thing is a suspension date, or this will suspense after a certain number of years. I think 10 years kind of makes sense. I think that's where Downtown Vision is right now. So after 10 years, we can kind of come back and re-up or kind of shoot it down. So I'd be very willing to have both of those concessions. But if there is going to be an opt-out, I would suggest like let the board kind of figure out what that looks like, and then based on hardship. But if you're okay with having this,
while I still have the floor, I would support you on this. I just don't want to have it go through this process of having the board decide. You don't even have the board created. I would suggest whoever doesn't want to be a part of it from the beginning is not a part of it. I understand that it would add added cost to those who want to be a part of it, but at the end of the day, it's an additional tax, and I don't want to make business owners pay more than they're already paying. We're already dealing with a lot of high wages, high cost of goods. A lot of people are not going out to spend money, and so to add more taxing to them, if they don't want to be a part of it, I want to support you 100% of the way. I just want to make sure that we also take care of those that don't want to be a part of this, period. I know they might benefit from it, but at the end of the day, I don't want to force anybody to do something they don't want to do. So if you would accommodate our request to have them not even opt out, just removed from the beginning, I would move forward that way.
through the chair to Mr. Reingold, I mean, I feel like it's going to be you who's going to be doing the majority of kind of the cutting out of certain properties, and I guess we're doing it just based on this sheet. I would just ask that we, the first year, everyone's getting stuff through the CBA dollars I'm going to be putting into it. I'd like to be able to kind of have folks see it in real time, similar to the BCID. Is there a way we can do that? After 1 year, or everyone will get, every time that there's, the bid board, meeting, it's going to be a publicly noticed meeting. Anyone that can come in and say, hey, why is this going to be on my tax rolls? It doesn't make sense. They can kind of explain what's going on. If they say, look, my business is going out next year, I'm going to have a vacant property. I think the board should be able to assign some kind of help to them.
All right. I guess, as you know, like I said, I'm going to finish now on this part, but two more things. I think we're just adding more of the process to the process already. If we just do it from the beginning, we don't have to deal with that, number one. Number two, how much do you expect to generate per year with this? Is there an average?
Through the chair. No, not really, because again, it depends on what the board decides in terms of the amount of cents that they want to do per heated square foot, right? The business, the market will help decide that. The business owners will come together and say, I don't want to do 37 cents. Let's do 15 cents. So it's going to be different every year based on the needs of the community.
Got it. Okay. All right. Mr. Fabulous, you're recognized, and then Mr. Diamond.
Just another option that I wanted to throw out there, because there's a lot of back and forth on the opt-out and kind of the dynamic of how that's effectuated, because we don't have a map on this one, kind of like we did when we were talking about Bay Meadows. One other option you have is if you want to allow this to go for a year, you can add language into the legislation that rather than doing an opt-out, have them come back at a year to report on the actions of the special district, and at that point require further council action to extend the district's work, to extend the existence of the district. And at that point, if there's feedback from the community that there are individuals who want to opt out, you can add an opt-out then. So you let it work for now. I think from Mr. Reingold's point was, what is the incentive to not opt out if you're going to be surrounded by properties who have opted in and that are going to receive the benefit of the services that the dependent special district is providing at the members' cost, those individuals who have opted in? You're still going to get all the benefits. You're still going to get the heightened security. You're still going to get the landscaping. You're still going to get the promotion. So to Mr. Peluso's point, kind of what's the incentive for businesses to pay in if they're still going to be surrounded by businesses who might choose to opt in and be paying instead? No, I'm just trying to offer, and I certainly know my place, and I'm not interjecting myself into the policy aspect. I just don't know if there's a way to kind of see it, to do both. You let it go without the opt-out for a year and have them come back and report, and then at that point you interject an opt-out at that point. Maybe you've had more community feedback from the property owners and the businesses themselves. Just trying to see that there's different ways to slice it that you all might want to consider. But the opt-out is currently what's on the table, and I would just recommend if we add the opt-out, you might want to consider if the council wants to determine what that looks like, or if you want to leave it to the board to set up a process for opt-out, because that will implicate, like I indicated before, they have the authority to contract with the tax collector and the property appraiser to kind of effectuate their assessments. You might want to include in there who's authorized to establish that process. If it's going to be the council wants to put it in the ordinance, or if you want to authorize the board of directors or the supervisors to make that process part of their function.
All right, thank you. Mr. Peterson and then Diamond, I just want to make sure that we have all the information we need before we continue. Okay, cool. Mr. Diamond, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll be fast because we've spent a lot of time on this. But I mean, we're looking at the classic free rider versus government coercion problem, right? So one side's worried about free riders, and I'm on the side that's worried about government coercion where people don't want this. So I think for me, I think there's the votes here for an opt-out. You can put it in legislation. I'm hearing from Dylan that there is no prohibition on a opt-out, and I think it needs to be in the ordinance to do an opt-out by. I can guarantee you, it's like an HOA, like. It's just going to create problems. So just go ahead and put in the ordinance, have a map. It's going to be a wonky map. I agree with you. You're going to have Unit 1, yes. Unit 2, no. Unit 3, yes. That's what it's going to look like. You can go ahead and put it in the statute. These are the ones that opted in. These are the ones that opted out. And it should be available, regularly. And that was my motion. I got a second. I'd like to get a vote on it. The problem is I'm not sure that it's baked enough to be able to do today. And whether or not, and I'm not trying to hold your bill up. I swear I'm not. But I do think that you need a round for OGC to try and figure out what an opt-out looks like.
All right. I will definitely like to take this up today. If anything, we do have a week to discuss this with OGC on our end. Yeah. All right, we have a motion and a second on this. Mr. Salem, do you want to add anything else? Or all right, cool. Go ahead.
I'm all for the opt-out. What I suggest is the 11 or 12 that you have are opted out from the very beginning. Mm-hmm. And there's some quarterly process controlled by the district councilman. As people decide they want out, you introduce legislation that opts them out on some type of emergency legislation on a quarterly basis. That way, people are only in for a period of time if they decide they want out.
Yes, ma'am.
So a couple of things. There is a map attached, and I apologize, I was wrong. There's a map attached as Exhibit 2. So if the intention of this amendment is that the people who who responded that they were in opposition be the initial opt-out, then I would recommend as part of the amendment, if it's approved, we attach a revised Exhibit 2 that shows that those properties are not part of the district. With respect to quarterly, that's problematic from the tax collector's perspective because they do one tax bill a year.
Okay, then let's do it annually.
The other thing that I would ask is the intention that if they opt out once, they're opted out forever? Or what if there's a change in ownership of the property? Do we require that they opt out annually? Those are some aspects that I think would need to be fleshed out if we're adding an opt-out into the ordinance.
Okay, they opt out once a year. The original 11 are not part of the diagram. This is my friendly amendment, are opted out from the very beginning. Other people can opt out once a year, and they can opt in once a year for that matter. If someone wants to get in, they could come back in, and that is controlled by the district councilman, whether it be Councilmember Peluso or whoever replaces him. That's That's what I'd like to see. If Councilman Diamond's comfortable with that, I'd be very supportive of that. Yes, please.
A motion and a second on the amendment to the amendment. Mr. Peluso, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair. So with the option for an opt-out, I ask that we allow the first year because, again, no one's getting assessed for everyone to be in there, and then the opt-out begins in 2026. So that way I can start in the 26th year. Now I could talk to these 11 folks and these other people. Like, we can opt them out starting the year that they actually get assessed. That first year, let's keep this map as it is, and then I commit to you that I will make sure that we do the opt-out starting next year if there's people that want to opt out.
Okay. I do have Councilmember Carlucci.
Well, that was a question.
Oh, that's a question. To who?
Councilmember Salem.
Salem. All right.
I would prefer there be opt-out on the original map to eliminate any confusion. Those 11 that you definitely have a negative vote on.
Oh,
I don't. Through the chair, I just if they're not properly explained about what this is, I would like to be able to talk to them before we let them know they're going to be removed from a map.
I know of one that opted out very well. He wants out. So, I mean, to suggest that people are not intelligent enough to determine if they want in or out, that's insulting to me. They've indicated they want out. They should be left out from the very beginning with the ability to opt back in yearly, just like people are going to opt out yearly. Simple as that.
Right. Before I entertain Mr. Carlucci, let me just tell you, Mr. Peluso, that for the BCID, when it was developed, it went through the same process, and it was very contentious. And there had to be a lot of back and forths in this case. I don't see this being different than that. I think the overall good of what you're trying to achieve will be achieved. It's just you have to accommodate for some of those that don't want to be a part of it. And then once it gets executed moving forward, we just let the process start. But I think that by us holding it up here, if we decide to defer this for whatever reason, we're actually doing a disservice to the community. We could definitely get this done already if we just opt those guys out and just move forward. Because trust me, for the BCID, I had the same issue. We had the same issues. And even today, I'm still having the same issues where people want to opt out. And I'm the one making the decision whether I entertain that or not. So I'm just telling you, look out for your community, take this, and then move forward in the future. All right. Mr. Joe Carlucci, you're recognized.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Can I just get like a recap on where we're at? I've heard it all. We've kind of bounced around. I just want to clearly understand Councilmember Salem's amendment to Councilmember Diamond's amendment. Through the chair to Ms. Stefopoulos.
Through the chair to Councilmember Carlucci. So the original Diamond amendment was to add an opt-out to the bill. And the Salem amendment to the Diamond amendment would provide that the 11 individuals or the individual property owners that responded that they were not in support or opposed this dependent special district, they would automatically be opted out, and there would be a revised Exhibit 2 map that would reflect those properties not being in the district, and that they could annually they would be able to opt in if they'd opted out, or they can opt out. So that there would be an opportunity on an annual basis for that to occur.
Okay. Thank you.
You're on the Salem amendment to the Diamond amendment.
Okay, awesome. I support that amendment. I think it's fair, and I've got faith in Councilmember Peluso to go talk to those 11 people and convince them to opt in or whatever. And with that, I mean, you're still at like 90% success rate on all the other ones who are going to be in there. So I'm comfortable with that amendment. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you. Mr. Peluso will be the last speaker, and we're going to take a vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I mean, my concern is if people were to opt out, that means that they don't get the services of this. So if like there's a security issue, the paid security is not going to, like, it's like, think of the Simon Malls, right? Everyone pays into the cam. Everyone pays into the additional security, the lighting, the cleanliness, everything else. So now people are getting benefits, and they're not paying into it. And if there is like some kind of break-in or an incident, the big could say, sorry, you guys didn't pay into that. Like, you're not able to come. And it's just, I think it's going to create an undue burden on those who want to see improvements. So I would just ask that we wait a year on opt-out.
All right, Mr. Carlucci.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to comment on that because we do have private security in San Marco, and they don't go to the businesses who don't pay. So it just adds the benefit to the BID. It says, well, hey, man, yeah, you're not paying in, so you don't get the benefit. So I would say don't shy away from that.
All right, Mr. Peterson, and then Mr. Fopoulos. Okay, all right, Mr. Fopoulos.
Thank you. I conferred with Mr. Reingold, so I believe that we would also, if to the extent the Salem amendment to the amendment is approved, we would also need a revised Exhibit 3, which is the list of the property owners. So that would be a part of that if approved. And then I would just ask if we could have, to the extent that this new provision, this opt-out is approved by the committee, if you would give us leave to work with the tax collector to identify a date so that we could put that in the ordinance by which the property owners would have to opt in or out, because we want to make sure that information is conveyed to the tax collector in sufficient time for them to do what they have to do to collect the assessment on the tax rolls. Okay. But I'm hesitant to pick a date to offer you because we wouldn't have had a chance to talk to the tax collector. Okay.
Okay. All right. No other speakers in the queue. We have a motion and a second on the amendment to amendment. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Amendment to the amendment passes. All right.
The amendment is amended.
We have a motion and a second on the amendment as amended. Mr. Peluso, recognized. All right. So all in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. All right. Motion passes.
Mr. Chair, can we do you want us to roll that into the other finance amendments to make one finance amendment?
Yep. Do you need us to recognize that, or would you want to just...
If I just have direction to do so, then that's sufficient. You don't have to take it up as a motion. So then if that's the case and we're authorized to roll it up, then you would just move the bill as amended at this juncture.
We're moving the bill as amended. We have a motion and a second. And before we take a vote, Mr. Peluso?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I just wanted, based on how fast we kind of need to start this, I want to see if it might be all right with the committee if we did one cycle emergency for the board members. If we embed that into the bill, or if we just kind of get a handshake agreement on that.
I don't have an issue with it. We're all good with that. So I'm not going to make an motion on this, but you could just pass the legislation whenever you're ready for that.
It's because we got the mayor's office now doing one, and then
that's fine.
The president's office.
Yeah, we're not going to add this to the amendment. Just go ahead and do it. File it when you're ready. Okay, let's open up the ballot. Record your vote.
Six yeas, one nay.
All right, by your motion, 2025-0539 passes. All right, and Mr. Lanen has had enough of this. He's leaving. All right. Okay. All right. I'll see you later. All right, number 6, 2025-0727 is deferred. Number 7, 2025-0728 is. We have a motion and a second to withdraw. We have a motion and a second to withdraw. Open the ballot. Record your vote. (2025-0728)
6 yeas, 0 nays.
Withdrawn. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. All right, number 8, 2025-0731. Second. We have a motion and a second on the amendment. Mr. Peterson.
Through the chair of the committee, the amendment just clarifies that the second affected property owner with the street renaming is the city, and that consent was provided by the DIA CEO.
Okay. All in favor of the amendment indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Amendment passes. We have a motion and second on the bill as amended. No speakers in the queue. Open up the ballot and record your vote.
6 yeas, 0 nays.
All right, by your motion, 2025-0731 passes. Number 9, 2025-0738. We have a motion and a second on the bill, and it's just a scrivener's error, so open up the ballot, record your vote.
Scrivener. I wish in my life that $130 million was Scrivener. Yeah.
6 yeas, 0 nays.
All right, by your motion, 2025-0738 passes. Moving on to number 10, 2025-0739. We have a motion and a second on the amendment. Mr. Peterson.
Through the chair of the committee, the amendment corrects the fiscal year appropriation, also attaches a revised BT to get the funds into the proper location.
Okay. No speakers in the queue. All in favor of the amendment indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Amendment passes. We have a motion and a second on the bill as amended. Open up the ballot and record your vote.
Five yeas, 1 nay.
Okay. By your motion, 2025-0739 passes. On to number 11, 2025-0741. We have a motion and a second on the bill. No speakers in the queue. Open up. Okay, go ahead, Mr. Allen.
Thank you. I don't see Mr. Smith. Is he there? Anyone? Oh, Travis is there. Travis, what property is this for? I know the next one is for Normandy Cove.
It's not a property. Yeah.
This is authorizing them to accept the state's.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So, and then the next one is a specific property.
Got it. Understood. Well, then I don't have a question for you. Thank you, sir. She answered it.
All right. Just for clarification on the state allocation, Mr. Peterson, I know we had this conversation, but $100 million last year, how much did we receive? Was it 70, 80 million?
Through the chair, last year I believe we received roughly $70 million. It's in that 50 to 80 range on an annual basis. We file this annual bill up to that $100 million. If it was more than that, they'd have to come back for the additional authorization.
Got it. All right, thank you. All right, so we have a motion and a second on the bill. No speakers in the queue, so let's open up the ballot and record your vote.
Six yeas, 0 nays.
By your motion, 2025-0741 passes. On to number 12, 2025-0742. Motion and a second on the bill. No speakers in the queue. Mr. Holland, you want to ask that question now? Or?
Normandy Cove.
You're good. All right. So let's open up the ballot and record your vote.
6 yeas, 0 nays.
By your motion, 2025-0742 passes. On to number 13, 2025-0749. We have a motion and a second on the amendment. Mr. Peterson. Please.
Through the chair of the committee, the amendment will attach FEMA's approval of the local mitigation strategy as a new exhibit, and then strike the ability for the working group to make changes without council approval. That language was put in there because when the bill was filed, they did not have FEMA approval, so they wanted to be able to make any changes FEMA requested. That's no longer needed, so we'll strike that language.
Okay, cool. Mr. Diamond, you're recognized.
Yeah, when these things come up, I always say just once. The reason why I'm voting yes is not that we're spending $100 million or $29 million. It's simply that we're a pass-through for federal financing, and so that's why I'm a yes. Thanks.
Okay. Mr. Peterson, so by us putting this in the legislation, that means we're going to be eligible for FEMA in the future should we need them, right? That's all it is?
That's correct. That's a requirement, is for the local government to adopt a mitigation strategy to be eligible for FEMA disaster funds should they be needed.
Okay, got it. All right, so no other speakers in the queue. All in favor of the amendment indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Amendment passes. We have a motion and a second on the bill as amended. No speakers in the queue. Let's open up the ballot and record your vote.
6 yeas, 0 nays.
By your motion, 2025-0749 passes. Going on to, we're going to flip to page number 10. We have an emergency. Need a motion and a second on the emergency. We have a motion and a second on the emergency. Number 18, 2025-0770. Motion and a second on the emergency. All right. All in favor of the emergency indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Emergency passes. All right. We have a motion and a second on the bill as an emergency. Mr. Salem, you're recognized.
Chair, I raised some issues in neighborhoods yesterday. The chamber was going to get with me individually, so I'm ready to support the bill.
All right, got it. Mr. Howland, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just have a couple questions for Mr. Peterson on what documents we received from the chamber on this annual contribution. And the reason I bring that up is all of our direct contracts are subject to Code 118, so is PSG. And no, I don't think so. Explain maybe the difference between PSG, direct contracts, and this one as far as what documents.
Sure. Through the chair to Councilmember Howland, the contract with the chamber is not subject to Chapter 118. So the contract for 24-25, we made 2 payments to them in equal installments of $375,000 each, one in October and then one again in April. The contracts in prior years were very similar to that. If you go back, I don't know, 3 or 4 years, I believe it was in quarterly installments, same thing, just divided the amount up by 4. They supply a quarterly report showing what they've done to market Jacksonville, and I believe it's a 3 to 4 page document, and how much they spent to accomplish that goal. So we get 4 of those reports and then an annual report at the end of the year. This is different from PSG's because PSGs have to submit all of their invoices and receipts on exactly down to the penny how they spent the city dollars, and that's on a reimbursement basis, whereas the chamber is on a quarterly or a semi-annual distribution.
And then this contract's not managed by Office of Grants and Contracts Compliance? It's just direct?
Through the chair, that's correct. This is managed by OED.
Okay. And then, of course, the report comes not from the chamber, but from Jax USA, correct? This money's going to Jax USA?
Through the chair to Councilmember Howland, that's correct.
Okay. Are there any other direct contracts where we kind of waive the requirements of 118, or?
Through the chair to Council Vice President Howland. So this isn't a grant. So Chapter 118 is with respect to city grants. So we have a lot of direct contracts with organizations that provide various services that are not treated as grants and don't go through that Chapter 118 process where we have disallowance of funds and all that stuff. Sometimes we may include contractual provisions that are similar if it makes sense to do so based on the service being provided, but they're treated differently because this isn't treated as a grant.
Got it. Okay. That concludes my current line of questioning. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Mr. Diamond, recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a lot of friends at the chamber, so I like them. We've been on a lot of trips together, et cetera, et cetera. So this isn't directed at them so much as it makes me uncomfortable that we have OED grants where we don't have kind of the same stuff coming in. And so maybe the fix here is that I need to propose a new ordinance that says OED can't have just like a free, like non-transparent like way of doing things that we just take a report back. But for this one, maybe today I'll start a trend. But I'd like to at least say for this contract, I'd like to have the same stuff, and maybe y'all in Council Auditor's office could give us a little bit more detail on exactly what that would be. But just like, why wouldn't we have the same rules on this contract as we would like something we do through PSG? I think I would like to have that kind of stuff. So I guess that's a question over there.
Go ahead.
And let's hear what that is, and then I'll make the motion if it makes sense.
Through the chair to Councilmember Diamond, I speculate that the reason this is not treated like a 118 is the city is essentially paying for a service, and we're paying for marketing of Jacksonville worldwide. And we have come to an agreement with the chamber that dollar amount is $750,000. So I kind of see this as a services contract where we wouldn't receive invoices and receipts for every dollar on a services contract. If you wanted to go that route, I don't think that's out of line, but I believe that's the reason that it's handled in its current format versus where a PSG, we want to know exactly where that entity has spent every single one of those dollars, because as Mary indicated, there are disallowed expenditures under Chapter 118 that wouldn't necessarily apply here.
Okay, so that makes some sense to me. I'm tracking. Can I just ask Chris Hagan if he'd be okay with that, like on behalf of the chamber?
Sure. I don't know if Chris Hagan is an appropriate person for this.
I assume he's the guy who's repping the chamber right now.
Sure. Whoever wants to come up here and agree to that, could come up here.
Or not agree. You could yell at me,
not
too.
agree, whatever the
Option
case is.
2.
Is this maybe an Ed Randolph question?
I don't think so. I mean, I just want to know if they'd be okay, like, doing that. I'd feel a lot better about these contracts if we had that level of transparency. And again, this is my focus on nonprofits and all the way money is going out.
All right, name and address, please.
Sure. Anna Liebush, Senior Vice President, Jack's USA Partnership, 3 Independent Drive. Certainly, we are happy to work with the Office of OED in looking at ways that we can modify the contract to include more information and clarity for you.
That didn't sound like a no. So I'll make the motion. And look, I'm not picking on you guys. I like Andrea and all the rest. Like, respect everything you guys do. But I would make that motion that we'd have the same requirements as you get out of PSG.
Okay, so very quick, before we take that motion up, Mr. Peterson, in order for the Jack's Biz to get, I guess, reimbursed, right, do they not have to give you what they spent their money on or some sort of reporting in order to get reimbursed?
So through the chair,
whatever the case is.
To the chair, we submit them 2 equal, in the last year's contract, 24-25, we gave them 2 equal payments of $375,000, and they reported back what they did with that money and the amount they spent on a quarterly basis. Those are the reports that I've received. Mr. Randolph may have more detail if he gets anything extra, but from everything I've seen, it's just here's what we did during the quarter, and here's how much it cost us, and that's the report that the city receives. It's not a very extremely detailed report.
I get it. Does that not suffice for your question, or do you want more detailed of that? Because I mean, they're already doing the work and giving us that receipt, I guess.
No, to the chair. Yeah, I mean, I saw what they gave, and it's just like it's like a little like 2-page report. I would like to have us to have standards when we're giving money to nonprofits, and that's what this is, right? We're saying, hey, Jack's Chamber, you're going to go do this thing. It would be no different than if we had a bid through PSG for $750,000. Like, to me, that's the same thing. And this is, again, the Chamber and Jack's USA is kind of getting caught up in a crosshair where I'm like, can we please start doing things on a standard way with higher rates of transparency with nonprofits? I mean, that's what's in my brain. So I would like to have the PSG standard here. And it's not much. It's literally saying, here's the receipts of what we did. Okay, tell me, Ms. Mary.
You're recognized.
So through the chair to Councilmember Diamond, so there's a whole lot more to Chapter 118, which is kind of where you started, then they have to give us receipts of expenditures. So if you wanted to just lean into that, then I just would make sure that your amendment is specific to that you want to require. And I don't know if you are also suggesting that they be reimbursed or if you are okay with the advance payments, but that they have to show actual receipts for expenditures of the dollars in support of each of those quarterly disbursements before they receive the next one. Maybe a little more explanation would be helpful.
No, I'm not trying to overcomplicate this. I feel like we've already gone. I like the 118 rules. I'm not trying to change the rules for the Chamber and for Jack's USA, but I do think it makes sense to have this one standard for money that goes out to nonprofits. Period. So that's my motion. Not that they get reimbursed, but they get the money up front.
Okay, Ms.
So you just want invoices and receipts on how the dollars are spent more than the summary report that we've been getting. Okay, that makes sense.
How many people, because this is clearly just a service, this is not a PSG, which is why it's not under PSG or Chapter 118. How many services do we contract with other entities in Jacksonville?
Oh, there's countless.
Right, so now are we going to have to change that for everybody?
No, I think
I think it needs to change if that's the case. Here's the thing, when I'm doing my legislation on committees and boards, literally, I'm doing it because we need to, if we're going to make change, it has to literally apply to everybody. We can't just have things apply to one entity moving forward. So if the body's not in favor of doing this to everybody, then I'm not going to support this. We just did it right now with Jimmy's, his BID. It's the same approach here. So I'm not in favor of doing this if we're just going to target one entity.
To the chair, so I think a lot of it, there's various methods in which we procure services through the city. So to the extent that there's competitive procurement of services, a lot of those RFP or bid documents would have potentially similar provisions with respect to submittal of invoices or documentation of expenditure of the city dollars so that we can track and administer the contract appropriately. So I wouldn't say that all direct services contracts such as this don't have those provisions already in them. Some might. I think a lot of it just depends on how we've procured the service in the past. And so I don't think I can't suggest that there's a blanket none of the services contracts would have similar provisions in them, or all of the services contracts except this one would have similar provisions. So you're aware, that a lot of times they're just treated differently depending on the nature of the service, depending on the nature of the procurement for that service, and the nature of the history with the organization that we're contracting with.
Okay. All right. We have several speakers in the queue, so I'm going to open it up right now to Mr. Salem. Go ahead. Recognized.
Thank you, Chair. The suggestion I was going to make to Councilmember Diamond is let the chamber one go through and write some legislation. If you want everyone to behave under a certain criteria, let's write legislation, let's have the debate, and do it that way versus starting in the middle of a process that's essentially almost complete, is my suggestion. It's up to him.
Mr. Howland, recognized.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like the sound of the amendment because we're basically moving towards uniformity of 118. We could call it 118 light. I think the only thing that Mr. Diamond is asking for is just receipts to go along with that quarterly report, right? Invoices and receipts. All right, but I don't want to do that if that causes an undue burden on Jax USA. So, Ms. Labesh, if you wouldn't mind, would it be, and I have run companies before where you've got to submit receipts and invoices. Sometimes it can be very complicated. Would this be possible without causing undue burden on Jax USA? I mean, because I want you using that $750K to attract businesses to Jacksonville, particularly Cecil Field. Please let me know if it would be undue burden.
Absolutely. It is something that we can accommodate. It is important, though, that the payment structure that currently exists continues, because we are developing a year-long marketing strategy, and so you're paying as you go, as you're developing those strategies and implementing those strategies.
Understood. Thank you. Then I will support Mr. Diamond's amendment.
All right. Mr. Joe Carlucci, you're recognized.
All right. Hey, thank you, Mr. Chair. Look, I mean, I think having the receipts is certainly a good thing, and the chambers, they obviously have their stuff together. I think they can provide that. But my question was really through the chair to Mr. Diamond, which is, you know, do you plan to introduce something for this? Because I've gotten the packet of the $200 million that we're spending, and it kind of the chamber doesn't really concern me, but all these other ones that are getting these dollars, if they're on the same like direct deposit type of, y'all aren't on direct deposit, but like if that's kind of the, hey, we're one pager, this is that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. So can you respond?
Yeah, look, this isn't like something I just pulled out of my hat. Absolutely, I wanted a committee. It's that big that I think it needs a special committee. But here's the issue, is since the JEA stuff, my phone is like the bat phone, and people from across the city or nonprofits call me and they tell me about waste, fraud, and abuse. And so then I usually turn it over to like the IG's office. This has nothing at all to do with the chamber, 100% nothing to do with Jax USA partnership. But that's why I'm like, we need to start asking more from our nonprofits because it's $200 million. So that's it. So I will absolutely introduce legislation that we need more from these folks in that. But I don't want them to get caught up in all this mess. That's not what I'm trying to do. I would like to have this amendment passed, and then like let's move on. They get their 750. I'm sure they've got the support, and we could be done.
Sure. Okay.
So sorry, real quick, Mr. Chair. So what was the amendment now? Thank you.
Through the chair to Councilmember Carlucci, and I'm not sure I heard a second on it.
Yeah, we had a motion.
Thank you. So he wants, the Diamond Amendment would include in the bill a requirement that when they submit their report, that summary report, they would include invoices and other documentation of their expenditure of the city dollars. So more detail with respect to expenditure of city dollars rather than just a summary report of the activities that were supported by the city dollars.
Okay. And through the chair, little head nod out there from the chamber. Good. Kind of a pain, but good. Okay. All right. Thumbs up. All right. I'll be supportive of that. Thank you.
All right. Mr. Diamond, you're on the queue, or you want to just take it up? All right, let's take it up. So all in favor of the amendment? Actually, before we continue, Ms. Stefopoulos, just to confirm, I didn't hear anything about the payment. We're not changing the payment structure, right? Still staying the same way as it is right now?
Correct. Mr. Diamond's amendment does not address the payment structure at all.
All right. So all in favor of the amendment indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Amendment passes.
You'll need... move the bill as amended as an emergency.
Yep, that's what Mr. Holland just said, and we have a second. So nobody on the queue. We will take this up via ballot. Go ahead.
Five yeas, one nay.
All right, by your motion, 2025-0770 passes. Mr. Fopoulos, very quick on this one. Being that this is already passed, when should the chamber expect some sort of funding?
Through the chair, to the chair. So we had discussed this earlier. So it'll take a little time for OGC to put together the contract, which is not going to be significantly different than what we've had with them in the past, with the exception of the new provisions that would be added per the Diamond Amendment that was approved, assuming it's approved at council next Tuesday. But they would be able to receive payment and bill against that payment back to October 1st. So based on the nature of the contract, and it's something we've traditionally had with them for a number of years, I would say November, December timeframe at the latest, they would expect to have a fully executed contract.
All right, well, thank you. Okay, all right. Thank you, chamber folks, for coming out. We're moving on to number 19 now, 2025-0773. We have an emergency. Motion and a second on the emergency. All in favor of the emergency indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. So emergency passes. Move the amendment. We have a motion and a second on the amendment. And Mr. Peterson.
Through the chair of the committee, the amendment will clarify the purpose of the lease modification is related to the 12,064 square foot area that will be subject to the dinner cruise operation. That now, because of that revenue generating site, we have to have a adjusted modified lease with the state, and then also correct a spelling error.
Okay, nobody in the queue. Actually, I do have Ms. Pittman on the queue on the amendment, correct? Oh, all right. Why is it an emergency?
Through the chair to the committee, the dinner cruise operator wants to get up and running as soon as possible, and they can't without a modified lease with the state. And so the council member wanted to get this going through the process.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you. All right. No speakers in the queue, so we are going to now. What are we at?
Verbal on the amendment.
Verbal on the amendment. Yeah. All in favor of the amendment indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Amendment passes.
Move the bill as amended as an emergency.
We have a motion and a second on the bill as amended as an emergency. Nobody in the queue. Let's open up the ballot and record your vote.
6 yeas, 0 nays.
All right, by your motion, 2025-0773, emergency passes. All right, moving on now to page 13. We have another emergency, 2025-0779. We have motion and second on the emergency. All in favor of the, actually, I do have a speaker in the queue. Is it on the emergency, Mr. Diamond? No. All in favor of the emergency indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Emergency passes.
Move. Second.
We have a motion and second on the bill as an emergency. Mr. Diamond, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to be as a co-sponsor, and then I have a question. So this is for 200 cameras. Like, do we know where they're going? It's like, please not Neptune Beach. I just wanted a little knowledge because I did get some kind of more civil libertarian conservatives blowing me up about this, and I didn't have enough answers, and I called around, and so I figured I'd ask tonight. Thanks.
All right. Yes, sir.
Good afternoon. Bill Clement, Jacksonville Sheriff's Office. Through the chair to Councilman Diamond, the sergeant of the Real-Time Crime Center unfortunately had to step out for a speaking engagement. He was here earlier. He will be at the full council meeting Tuesday night. I do not believe we've identified where all the cameras will be going at this time. They're still working on that.
Okay. All right. I do have Mr. White or Carrico? At the end. All right. Got it. You're good, Mr. Diamond? All right, cool. We are now, sorry, where are we at again, Mr. Popoulos?
You have a motion and a second on the bill as an emergency, and if there's no other speakers in the queue, I believe you're ready to go to the vote.
All right, well, let's take action and go to the vote.
Six yeas, 0 nays.
By your motion, 2025-0779, emergency passes.
Mr. Chair, just before you adjourn, if you'll go through the second readings as well to make sure those are announced.
I do have some speakers in the queue. Mr. Salem, you're recognized. Anything you want to add? You're on the queue. Or is it on this?
No, something separate.
All right. You want me to go through my seconds?
Sure.
All right. The following bills are on second readings. 2025-0766, 767, 768, 769, 774, 775, 776, 777, 778, 780, 781, 783, and 795 are all on second reading. Mr. Salem, you recognize.
Yes, y'all heard me mention 2 or 3 weeks ago that I was going to be introducing legislation to make the lowest a 25 grand direct contract bill to prevent the $5,000 and $10,000 ones we dealt with. I'd also like to have a discussion at a notice meeting at 3 o'clock next Tuesday on direct contracts in general. I think we're doing a lot more direct contracts. Do we want to continue in that realm? Do we want to limit it to the budget, outside the budget? There's a lot of things that we can do, so if you'll give that some thought. And Mary's going to send that legislation out, I guess, later this week where you can begin to review it.
Through the chair, happy to do that, Dr. Salem. It'll get filed tomorrow upon your approval, and then I'll be happy to send that out as a one-way communication to the council.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. I also have a couple pieces of legislation in the pipeline. The biggest one really is the $15 million for workforce and education. I didn't plan on having any more public speaking engagements because I already had one, and we already identified what we were going to do with it. But if anybody has any questions, you can speak to Ms. Stefopoulos. I will have two presentations. One will be on neighborhoods, and the other one will be on finance. And I'm going to have all 5 entities come and present for 3 minutes, total of 15 minutes. That way you guys could have all your questions answered if that's the case. All right? Thank you. And with that being said, finance is adjourned. Oh, sorry, it's not adjourned. Mr. White, you weren't on the queue. All right, go ahead. Sorry.
Yes, sir. Thank you. And through the chair, just got some information. If y'all turn back to page 3 for a second, if you don't mind, and this is informational only. My 2025 361 that I started back in May, I think, and it's been deferred, and it's concerning a retiree allocation that I'm having some, I wouldn't say pushback, but hard to get some information at OGC. Not hard, but we. And I think this is something that would come out of the tax revenue that we're collecting for the retirees. What I'm requesting, maybe from the finance chair and rules, and I can talk to him later, to bring this back up, get it back in the queue to talk about and go to committees. And if you would allow a presentation, maybe from John Keene, on the retirees in the future, you could set that date, whether it's in 2 or 3 meetings from now. And I just wanted to throw that back out there and bring it to your attention.
All right, I will definitely entertain that motion. So just have Mr. King reach out to me, if that's the case, to identify a date.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody.